Chapter 352. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived outside the dormitory, they were all stunned at the ocean of people outside the door. Bai Junyu's opened his mouth, his handsome face filled with astonishment. Isn't this too many people? Besides the new student examinations, he had never seen so many students gathered up at one place. Xiaojiman was also speechless. When she had came, there were no people, but now only a short time had passed and there were already so much more people. Looking at the steady stream of students still coming at the far back, it seems like the auction will really have a lot of people attending. Dong Fengyu had a smile on his face, a faint trace of ridicule on his countenance. Hongzhuang, this auction of yours is really too big. The entire special enrollment student dormitory gives up. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. Her idea had accidentally blocked the special enrollment students' dormitory. At that time, she hadn't thought so many students would come. If more people kept on coming, there wouldn't be enough space to accommodate them all. Lu Qingyue stared blankly at the scene in front of her and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, unable to control the trace of envy appearing in her eyes. As a pill master, she knew the significance of an extinct pill very well. Before Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, she was Azure Water City's most watched pill master talent. And now, not only was Bailey Hongzhuang a second-grade pill master, she was even a famous doctor in the field of healing, the godly doctor. She was even younger than herself, yet held extinct pill recipes. As the vice principal's disciple, she also naturally held some pill recipes. But those were all common, normal pill recipes, simply incapable of being compared with those extinct, long-lost pill recipes. Originally, she had thought that her pill refining talents were already far beyond other peers her age, but since the arrival of Bailey Hongzhuang, she seemed to be completely pulled down off of her altar. Her heart couldn't help but feel a little lonesome. Bei Chen's eyes glowed with appreciation and pride. His wife was truly special. Whatever she did would attract everybody's attention. More and more people are coming. I'm afraid that there won't be enough space to hold an auction here. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly as she looked around to see even more students approaching. Personally, I think that it'd be a lot better to host the auction at the plaza. Dong Fengyu's smile was bright. There's a high platform over there and a lot of space. You can conduct the auction on the platform and we can help you with whatever's convenient. Hearing Dong Fengyu's suggestion, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. We can use the morning assembly plaza? The morning assembly plaza was generally only used when the school wanted to make important announcements. Bailey Hongzhuang knew that it'd be the best place to conduct the auction, but was also worried that they wouldn't be allowed to. Dong Fengyu waved his hand, a bright and charming smile still on his face. It doesn't matter. That plaza's affairs had already been given to me. Seeing Dong Fengyu's confident appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also curved into a smile. Then I'll be troubling you. Dong Fengyu nodded before turning to Gong Shaoqing. Shaoqing, I'll be temporarily leaving this to you. I'm going to go talk to the vice principal. Okay. Gong Shaoqing answered heavily. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with gratitude. No matter if it was Dong Fengyu or Gong Shaoqing, since she had arrived at Azure Water School, they've both helped her a lot. With their reputation within Azure Water School, as long as one of them was here, nobody would dare to cause chaos. Chapter 353. After the group of students outside the dormitory saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others come out, fiery looks of anticipation started appearing in their eyes. After Bailey Hongzhuang announced the auctioning of the channel opening pills, all of them looked forward to today. Searching all corners for demonic beast crystals, herbs and such things like precious treasures. All of that was for today. To be able to successfully bring the channel opening pill back with them. Even though these things were highly valuable, they still couldn't compare to the channel opening pill. After all, these were things that could be obtained anywhere and at any time. On the other hand, you can't get the opportunity to raise your cultivation any time. Usually, there was no small amount of competition with cultivating at the Azure Water School. If they could even slightly increase the speed of their cultivation, then, in the long run, there would be double the benefits. Junior sister Bailey, when will the auction start? One guy couldn't wait any longer and asked. The special enrollment dormitory certainly wasn't small. However, with all the students gathered here, this feeling of them constantly squeezing forward was rather uncomfortable. Almost everyone has already gathered here. How about we start it now? That's right. Let's start the auction now. Following that guy's words, everyone else also echoed the same sentiments. In the entire Azure Water School, almost no one chose to give up on the auction of the channel opening pill. At this moment, if the auction starts earlier, they would also have a little less competition. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips held a thin, beautiful smile. She lifted her hands slightly, indicating for everyone to quiet down. Though she was faced with so many students at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was still perfectly composed, not even show the slightest hint of nervousness. The number of students attending the auction today has greatly exceeded my expectations. With everyone arriving so early and gathering in such a crowded place, I feel very uncomfortable about it. After Bailey Hongzhuang spoke, the originally noisy surroundings miraculously quieted down. Everyone's gazes started centering on Bailey Hongzhuang, carefully listening to her words. Bei-chan and the others eyed Bailey Hongzhuang. She seems to possess a kind of power that calms people. Just a random gesture, a casual word would be enough to attract everyone's attention. This was a very special kind of ability. This kind of ability was also called leadership. It was not something that anyone could have. Everyone nodded. Bailey Hongzhuang had said what they thought in their hearts. Not only did Bailey Hongzhuang not expect there to be so many students coming, even they themselves didn't think of it. They also heard that many students that have gone out have quickly returned when they heard this piece of news. Even many students in closed-door cultivation have ended their seclusion. It was precisely because of this that the number of students attending the auction was so high. Even when the principal called for a morning assembly, there weren't this many people. Thus, I've decided to change the auction venue to the morning assembly plaza. I have to trouble everyone to move there. Bailey Hongzhuang's face held a bit of regret. Everyone hurried here so early, yet now they had to move again. Inevitably there would be some resentment. Yet this was the only way for the following auction to proceed smoothly. However, after everyone heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they didn't complain. Instead, one by one, they turned and headed towards the morning assembly plaza. Compared to blocking the entrance to the special enrollment dormitory, it was obvious that the morning assembly plaza was much more comfortable. Moreover, everyone also understood in their hearts that it was not yet the time Bailey Hongzhuang said the auction would start. It was just that they were impatient and came too early. Looking at the crowd's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened by a few degrees. The students of the Azure Water School were indeed dragons and phoenixes amongst men. Their quality was also extremely high. Chapter 354. As the crowd went to the morning assembly plaza, Bailey Hongzhuang and others began to move out as well. Bai Junyu's wound wasn't fully healed, so he originally should have stayed in his room to prevent his injury from getting any worse. But nobody would want to miss out on such a lively scene and stay at home, so he immediately went to the auction with Xia Jiqing. Although Xia Jiqing wasn't ever interested in Bai Junyu's chatter, since he was an injured man, her attitude towards him was a little bit nicer. By the time Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived at the morning assembly plaza, Dongfang Yu was already there waiting for them. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled when she saw Dongfang Yu. Senior Dongfang, did the vice principal agree? Dongfang Yu nodded. The vice principal is always easy to deal with and naturally didn't have a problem. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang was relieved, directly jumping onto the high platform. Bei-chan and the others also jumped on. Bailey Hongzhuang was in the middle, and they stood on both sides beside her. Below the platform, the students had already raised their heads in anticipation, eager for the auction to quickly begin. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the time and announced, "It's time for the auction to begin." Hearing this, everybody in the audience cheered. They were all waiting for the auction. Azure Water School's morning assembly plaza was facing the school's gate. Outside the entrance, many cultivators could be seen striking their necks to see what was happening inside. Although they truly wanted the channel opening pill because Bailey Hongzhuang made it so only Azure Water School students could bid for it, they had no chance at all to fight for it. But even knowing they had no chance, they still didn't want to miss out on such a lively event. When the auction was over, they could find whoever managed to get the channel opening pill and then perhaps they'd be able to get an opportunity. I believe that everybody knows how the auction will be conducted this time. Sunlight shone on Bailey Hongzhuang's body as her beautiful face glowed with confidence. It was an unforgettable sight. Everybody stared at Bailey Hongzhuang on the stage. Every movement of hers was filled with grace worthy of admiration. This auction, because it's held within our school and we're all cultivators, we won't be using gold coins to bid. We'll be bidding with the same prices, but everybody must use either demonic beast crystals, pill ingredients, or cultivation-related treasures. Everybody nodded. They've all already heard about the requirements and collected treasures everywhere to use for the auction. Xiajiqing frowned, confused. I know how the auction works, but the things everyone takes out will be different. It's hard to convert an item's value into gold coins, so how will that work? Bai Junyu shook his head, embarrassed. He also didn't understand. He had only seen auctions where gold coins were used to bid, and had never experienced this kind of auction. Lu Qinyue's eyes were also confused. How do you judge this? Dongfang, can you ask if Bailey Hongzhuang needs help with anything? Gong Shaoqing asked slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang's way of conducting the auction was really too strange, so a lot of problems would probably arise along the way. Dibei Chan nodded slightly, about to ask when Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly echoed again. Chapter 355, I believe that everybody knows this auction will be a bit complicated, so I've thought of a way to make this a bit simpler. Everybody looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously when they heard her speak. They had no idea what the way Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned was. I've prepared some paper and pen. We can directly write the item we want to bid with and our name on the paper. From there, I will choose the 3 most personally regarded highest bids, and those 3 will get the channel opening pills. What does everybody think? Bailey Hongzhuang's face had a smile on it. This was the simplest way she could think of to conduct the auction. Otherwise, who knew when the auction would finish today? Everybody's eyes lit up as they listened to Bailey Hongzhuang. This really was the best way. Like this, all the steps would be simplified and you wouldn't need to speak to bid. So no conflicts would arise from students studying at the same school. I didn't expect Hongzhuang to be so smart. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with admiration. This was truly bamboo splitting when it meets the knife, easily solving a difficult problem. Bai Junyu nodded with approval. This is the first time I've heard of such a way. Simplifying it and also reducing hidden malice during bids, really clever. The hint of anxiety in Dongfang Yu's brows already disappeared, replaced by an appreciative smile. It looks like we were just too worried. Gong Shaoqing stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. Right now, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be called a stupid woman at all. It really made others have no choice but to sigh in admiration and even further prove that holding this auction was not solely for her own personal benefits. The way people use bids in auctions always maximize profits, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't put that as her first priority. From this, it was clear that her first and most foremost goal was to help Azure Water School students. Dibei Chen's face was indifferent as he stood off to the side, his deep, tempting eyes glowing with pride and approval. His wife was naturally extremely intelligent. This way of auctioning even had him exclaiming in admiration. After breaking away from the status of the general household's second miss, she was already a very respectable figure. Now nobody could relate her as the general's household's second miss anymore. And since then, she's only been shining brighter and brighter. Seeing everybody nod in the audience without any disapproval, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile grew a bit wider. She turned to look at Xia Jiqing beside her. I'll be troubling everyone to help me distribute the pen and paper. Xia Jiqing immediately agreed. Give it to me. Dibei Chan, Dongfang Yu and the others also stepped forward. Hongzhuang asked them all, so naturally they complete it properly. The people watching outside Azure Water School couldn't help but show expressions of doubt. Isn't this an auction? So why haven't they started bidding and instead started to pick up pen and paper? Not so far away, the principal Ren Tianxiong and vice principal Huan Qiyu stood together to watch Morning Assembly Plaza. This Bailey Hongzhuang, not only is she strong, but she also has a good brain. Ren Tianxiong's eyes had a faint trace of admiration in them. As Azure Water School's principal, he had naturally seen no lack of great talents. But very few students were as excellent as Bailey Hongzhuang. Huan Qiyu nodded in approval. Bailey Hongzhuang really is remarkable. In the future, she'll definitely be able to stir big waves in Shangxian continent. Chapter 356. Have you investigated Bailey Hongzhuang's background? Ren Tianxiong slowly asked, his sight still on the bidding students. I didn't investigate, but Lu Huayan and the others definitely should have. Huan Qiyu smiled lightly, After her background, she should have some kind of secret. A light of approval appeared in Ren Tianxiong's eyes. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichan is also already very complicated. This year is really abnormal. Huan Chuyo's voice was filled with emotion. The demonic beast tied. A second-rank pill master, new leaders, truly extraordinary. Hearing this, Ren Tianxiong's lips also curved into a small smile. As long as we know they're Azure Water School students, that's enough. As Azure Water School's principals, their goal was to breed new talents. They didn't care for things like life's ambitions. Xia Jiqing handed out the pen and paper. The students in the auction were all very cooperative. But when Xia Jiqing saw who was taking the pen and paper this time, her face changed somewhat. Ling Jessen, didn't you say Bailey Hongzhuang's channel opening pills were fake? Why did you still come here to bid then? Xia Jiqing's eyes were filled with disgust and disdain. She never liked this woman who was always looking for trouble with Hongzhuang. Did she come to the auction today just to make trouble? Ling Jessen's face was somewhat embarrassed. She originally thought that with so much people attending, she only needed to disguise herself a little bit, and nobody would notice. Besides, since it's bidding using pen and paper, she'd only need to use a fake name and Bailey Hongzhuang would have no idea. She didn't think that Xia Jiqing would recognize her while handing out the pen and paper. After being discovered, Ling Jessen awkwardly raised her head and spoke. This auction doesn't have any rules about who or who cannot bid. So why wouldn't I be able to join in? Xia Jiqing laughed coldly. You really are shameless enough to. Ling Jessen's face was stiff. This Xia Jiqing's words were even more vicious than Bailey Hongzhuang's, not leaving her with a single bit of face. You're saying so much nonsense, just give me the pen and paper. After shouting at Xia Jiqing, Ling Jessen directly took a set of pen and paper from her hands. Xia Jiqing glanced at her coldly. Such a person was truly rare. After she was done distributing the pen and paper, Xia Jiqing returned to the platform. Hongzhuang, while I was handing out the sets, I saw Ling Jessen. She also came to bid. No matter what, you shouldn't choose her. Xia Jiqing's lips twitched, her eyes filled with loathing. That woman never has good intentions. You can't give the channel opening pills to her easily. Seeing Xia Jiman's resentful appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang lips curled into a graceful smile. It doesn't matter. I also saw her earlier. But I think that since she was running all over the place trying to make up for our bet's debt, I doubt she has a good enough treasure now to bid. Xia Jiqing's words made Bailey Hongzhuang's mood a bit brighter. Although it was only a school auction, she still believed that the 3 channel opening pills should be able to fetch a high price. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Ling Jessen faintly. In the crowd, not only did she see Ling Jessen, she had even seen Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang as well. Chapter 357. Holding the pen and paper. Ling Jessen felt somewhat proud. Since she'd met Bailey Hongzhuang, she had never lost so much face in her entire life. No matter what, she couldn't just swallow her resentment. Coincidentally, Yunyang had just returned yesterday. After talking it over, they made a decision. Dai Yunyang had already received letters from the general's household earlier, and was furious upon learning Dai Jiman was killed by Bailey Hongzhuang. He'll definitely avenge Jiman, daring to kill his sister. After Dai Yunyang returned, not only was his strength enchanted, even his body was strengthened. It just so happened that Bailey Hongzhuang was holding an auction, so after talking over their strategy, they decided to buy all 3 channel opening pills and spread rumors about how they were useless. So that way, Bailey Hongzhuang would be completely discredited. At that point, they were sure that Bailey Hongzhuang would be completely abandoned like a worn-out shoe. Her reputation would be destroyed for everybody to trample on. Then wouldn't ruining Bailey Hongzhuang be an easy job? Dai Yunyang decided to conceal news of him returning and gave the mission to Ling Jessen, Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang. They had originally wanted to get a few followers to return with the channel opening pills, but they hadn't expected Bailey Hongzhuang to come up with such a way of conducting the auction. It saved them a lot of trouble. So, they just had to use a different name to bid. After Bailey Hongzhuang read their names, they could come out and Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't have any way to oppose them. Ling Jessen looked at Lu Jingquan not so far away and sign-led with her eyes. Lu Jingquan exposed a knowing smile. They've always been waiting to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Now that they finally worked out a perfect plan, they must kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Peng Yunxiang was also very happy. Although helping Dai Yunyang ruin Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't the goal in mind, he truly wanted to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. But now Dai Yunyang regarded him as important, so as long as this succeeded, he'll definitely get more chances to work with him in the future. A ruthless light flickered in his pitch-black pupils. He and Bailey Hongzhuang's fate together have already come to an end. After he was wounded at the cultivation pagoda, it took a very long time for him to recover, and he had always felt guilty for Chan Tianjing. This time, he'll definitely get revenge plus interest from Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang touched Baisher's fur. Today he was abnormally excited. Thinking of the number of shiny demonic beast crystals it could get with the auction, Baisher's eyes were shining with greed. God, more demonic crystals and he would be crushed to death. The two black and white fluff balls were depressed. Master gave so much thought about Baisher's meals. Compared to him, they were really treated a lot worse. Really unfair. You Little Black sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's head. His face resentful and couldn't help but pull on Bailey Hongzhuang's hair. Little White nodded, feeling the same. That little still-feeding baby is getting more and more arrogant, just acting cute all day long. AI. Little Black sighed, directly pulling out a strand of hair. Don't tell me that we have to let that still-milking baby act so arrogantly in front of us? Little White pulled hard, taking another strand. But I also don't know what we can do. Bailey Hongzhuang's head suddenly ached. She wondered what the pain was when her face couldn't help but change somewhat. Chapter 358. What are you two guys doing on my head? A trace of helplessness appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. What did the two do for no reason? Suddenly hearing Bailey Hongzhuang speak, Little Black and Little White couldn't help but be startled. Looking at the pulled-out strands of hair in their hands, their faces immediately changed. Nothing. Little Black immediately delcard, immediately putting down the strand, hiding it. But how could the hair be so sticky? It fell down off her head. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the fallen hair and narrowed her eyes. You two were pulling out my hair? Little Black and Little White shook their heads repeatedly. We absolutely didn't. Then what's this on the ground? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed even more, a sharp light passing through them as she ignored the two's quibbling. The two fluff balls pointed fingers. We were going to say something, but we forgot. Just now they thought that they were pulling up grass and that it came out very smoothly. Little Black repeatedly nodded, sticking up his hand. I swear we didn't do it on purpose. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head helplessly. She'll never understand how the two fluff balls think. You guys don't have to grumble. How about I treat you two to a feast tonight? Hearing this, Little Black and Little White's eyes widened, turning as bright as stars. Drool dripped from their mouths. Really? Little White immediately asked, we can eat anything we want? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Right, eat anything you like. The thing the two fluff balls liked the most was to eat, but she usually ignored it in favor of prioritizing cultivation. Eating wasn't anything complex, so she had really wronged the two. I want to eat red braised pork. Little Black immediately voiced. I want to eat pig trotters. Little White followed, afraid that if he was a second late, the pig trotters would fly away. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. All right, one for each of you. Wow. So happy. Little Black and Little White raised their hands, their faces filled with happiness. They were completely immersed in their fantasy of braised pork and pig trotters. After settling the two, Bailey Hongzhuang looked around the crowd again. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes widened. In the crowd, she saw a very unexpected guest, Wei Meidai. That day in the Pill Masters Guild, she had made Wei Meidai lose a lot of face. But today, she unexpectedly came to bid at the auction. The most important thing, though, was that only Azure Water School students could enter Azure Water School. Could it be that Wei Meidai was actually an Azure Water School student too? Right now, Wei Meidai felt very depressed. Although she was an Azure Water School student, she was usually refining pills and rarely came to the school. Before, when she heard Bailey Hongzhuang was auctioning off 3 channel opening pills in Azure Water School, although she was really interested, she decided that she wasn't going to go. The first time she faced Bailey Hongzhuang, she had lost too much face. Normally she was very creative, but in front of Bailey Hongzhuang she couldn't say anything. Even her master could only swallow his anger against Bailey Hongzhuang. She never wanted to see her again. But this morning, her master sent her to the school and told her that she needed to get the channel opening pills no matter what. Chapter 359. Wei Meidai never wanted to come to Azure Water School. Besides, wasn't going to bid for Bailey Honghuang's channel opening pills tantamount to directly bringing about her own humiliation? She was a rather prominent figure, so there was no way Bailey Honghuang would sell her the channel opening pills. If it was her, there was no way she'd sell the channel opening pills to Bailey Honghuang. But she couldn't disobey her master and could only brace herself to go. She also knew what her master planned to do. The reason why Bailey Honghuang had been able to be so arrogant towards her master was only because she held the long-lost channel opening pills in her hand. If her master could research and figure out the channel opening pills recipe, Bailey Honghuang wouldn't have the qualifications to be so arrogant. Then, Bailey Honghuang wouldn't have any capital to be so unbridled in front of them. Thinking up to here, the depression on Wei Meidai's face disappeared. For a gentleman to take revenge, not even 10 years were too long. Even if she doesn't have any methods to deal with Bailey Honghuang now, there'll definitely be one someday. Before long, she'll definitely force Bailey Honghuang to kowtow to her for forgiveness. Wife, what are you watching? Dibei-chan noticed Bailey Honghuang watching the crowd interestedly, and finally couldn't help but ask as he stood beside her. Bailey Honghuang's lips curled, a playful smile dancing at her lips. It's nothing, just a few enemies were attracted to the auction. It really is lively. Wifey has enemies in Azure Water School? Dibei-chan raised the tip of his brows, his eyes turning cold. Daring to make enemies of his wife? He won't let them have an easy time. Bailey Honghuang smiled and shook her head. No, it's just some small trouble, nothing serious. As cultivators, there was never a lack of trouble. Because everyone were cultivators, there was naturally pride, arrogance along with strength. Thus, it was very normal for a small conflict to explode and magnify. The more talented the cultivator, the more conflicts there'd be. That was a commonly known fact. And she, Bailey Honghuang, never feared trouble. Daring to look for trouble with her, they need to prepare to pay the price. Dibei-chan saw Bailey Honghuang's confident appearance and set away his worries. Conflicts among cultivators were indeed very common. As long as it wasn't too complex, his wifey could solve it herself. Honghuang, Ling Jiesin and Lu Jingquan both came. They probably want to make some trouble, so you have to prepare yourself. Dong Fengyu frowned with a trace of worry as he warned her. Bailey Honghuang nodded slightly, a confident smile on her lips. Don't worry, I can deal with it. There was a saying, virtue was 1 foot tall, and the devil 10 foot. One must always be vigilant to stave off danger. She could almost already imagine Ling Jiesin and the others' plan. Since they wanted to do it like that, she'll follow their wishes and teach them a lesson. Trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice to lure it. It wasn't long before the students all finished writing and placed their slip of paper into the box. Bailey Honghuang took the box and began to read through the papers. Not all the papers were the same, but most of them just contained things like points and demonic beast crystals. For Bailey Honghuang, the things she wanted most were points. After she went to the cultivation padoga, she understood how big of a benefit the energies of the padoga had on her cultivation, so she longed for points very much. She believed that after the auction was over, she'd be able to cultivate in there for a very long time. Chapter 360. Looking at the slips of paper in her hand, Bailey Honghuang chose the 3 with the highest value. 3,000 points, 50 demonic crystals. 2,000 points, 30 demonic crystals. 2,000 points, 30 demonic crystals. These 3 best suited Bailey Honghuang's intentions, especially these points that would allow her to train for another period of time in the cultivation padoga. She believed that, by then, her cultivation would make another breakthrough. Xia Jiqing saw the prices on these 3 slips of paper and couldn't help gasping. Their value was too high. In the Azure Water School, the most important thing for students was the cultivation padoga. Couldn't even be bought with money. The rest of the slips of paper were mostly a couple hundred points, with the highest being just over 1,000. Even just that was as much as a student's hard-earned savings. Who would have expected that there were people writing such sky-high prices? She could only watch enviously. I've already decided. Bailey Honghuang faced the audience and waved the 3 bills. A charming smile on her beautiful face. After Bailey Honghuang spoke, The audience could feel their hearts tightening. They didn't know who Bailey Hongzhuang had chosen in the end. Lin Qinru, Huang Fuyuan, and Xia Qian. Ling Jiesin frowned when she heard the first name. She was confident that their offer was already high, and it ought to be impossible for anyone to offer more. How could their plan be ruined from out of the blue? Luckily, hearing the following two names, she sighed in relief. At least two of the channel opening pills had fallen into their hands. As for the third, they'd think of a way. Wei Meidai had a proud expression on her face. She originally thought that the mission master had given her would be very difficult. Who would have thought it would be settled so effortlessly? As a pill master, she was rich. Whether it was points or demonic crystals, she was definitely not lacking. To her, the most important thing wasn't her cultivation but pill refining. Thus, it didn't matter even if she had to give away all her points. Besides, as a pill master, would she be lacking these things? Besides Wei Meidai's three, the rest of the students whose bids had failed had faces full of disappointment. My bid was already very high, how could I lose? Just how much did those three pay? Yeah, I also thought I had bid high enough to get one. Somehow, I actually failed. That's a channel opening pill. I didn't expect such a great opportunity would slip away after I prepared for so long. Seeing that everyone was extremely curious about the price, Bailey Hongzhuang directly read out the bids on the 3 slips of paper. Hearing those numbers, cries of alarm rang through the site. My God, 3,000 points. That's really too much. Does our school have a student with so many points? 2,000 points, that's more than all the points I've ever earned added together. There truly are people beyond people and skies beyond skies. No wonder we lost. However, I've never heard those 3 names before, so I wonder who the winners are. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze stopped briefly on Ling Jiesin's 3. The 3 of them looked full of confidence, so their bids must be high. She was convinced that the 3 slips of papers in her hand belongs to the 3 of them. Could the 3 fellow students please climb onto the stage? Bailey Hongzhuang said with a laugh. The light and elegant sound was like a forest breeze, moving the heart. Chapter 361. Wei Meidai, Ling Jiesin, and Lu Jingquan walked up to the stage under everybody's startled eyes. When they saw the 3's appearances, the audience was in an uproar. Isn't that Ling Jiesin? None of the names Bailey Hongzhuang read out just now seemed to be her. Wei Meidai and Lu Jingquan both didn't use their real names. What the hell is this? Could it be that the 3 planned this prior? I don't know, but I heard that Ling Jiesin and Lu Jingquan both are in conflict with Bailey Hongzhuang. So it's not strange for them to use a fake name. But why is Wei Meidai as well? Ling Jiesin stood proudly on the stage, staring at Bailey Hongzhuang mockingly. You never thought that the one who bidded for the channel opening pill was me, right? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the 3 indifferently, completely ignoring Ling Jiesin's words. Not waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to speak, Xia Jiqing already shouted first. Ling Jiesin, I never thought you'd be shameless enough to use a fake name. She'd long known that Ling Jiesin didn't come with good intentions, and still didn't know what she was trying to find trouble with. Ling Jiesin glanced at Xia Jiman coldly. Auctions have always been about the highest bid, not the name. So is there something wrong if I use that name to bid? Am I wrong? Bailey Hongzhuang? Ling Jiesin stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, her face confident and proud. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. What you said is correct. The highest bidder wins, and whatever name you use has nothing to do with me. Even if you changed your name to Pighead, I wouldn't care either. Hearing this, Ling Jiesin's smile disappeared, her face instantly turning unsightly. This Bailey Hongzhuang was truly too good at infuriating people. The originally angry Xia Jiqing couldn't help but laugh when she heard Pighead. That name truly fitted Ling Jiesin very well. Wei Meidai originally thought about speaking against Bailey Hongzhuang, but didn't expect for Ling Jiesin to do it first. A touch of disdain and hate appeared in her black eyes. It seems like a lot of people really hate Bailey Hongzhuang. Since we already won the bid for the channel opening pill, give it to us. Lu Jingquan's eyes were gloomy and cold. Since he had met Bailey Hongzhuang, he had always suffered losses. Now, he would finally pay Bailey Hongzhuang back for everything. You aren't that shameless, right? Lu Jingquan smiled proudly. Although there were no changes on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, he believed that her heart right now was already furious. She must have never expected for them to be the ones who bid it for the channel opening pills. But who knew how Lu Jingquan would feel if Bailey Hongzhuang actually knew that they were the ones who had written the bids yet chose them anyways? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly and elegantly, seeming so natural and unrestrained that not only did it seem like Ling Jiesin and Lu Jingquan did not bother her at all, but even made it so they seemed petty. Naturally I will, this is a fair and just auction. If you three hand over the items written on the paper, the channel opening pills belong to you guys. Ling Jiesin thought about Bailey Hongzhuang's former style and doubt flashed across her face. What's with today's Bailey Hongzhuang? Why does she seem so different from before? If right now Bailey Hongzhuang got up and started to argue with her, she would feel some pleasure. But Bailey Hongzhuang's gentle and polite appearance made her feel extremely uncomfortable, as if she had swallowed a fly. Chapter 362 Hongzhuang, you really want to sell the channel opening pill to Ling Jiesin and the others? Lu Qinyue's face was awkward and doubtful. At the current stage it was near impossible not to. But Ling Jiesin and the rest clearly held bad intentions. If the channel opening pills were really handed over to them, won't they be setting themselves up for trouble? Gong Shaoqing watched Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance and thought a bit. Hongzhuang should have already thought of a countermeasure. No need to worry. Dongfang Yu was somewhat anxious and he couldn't help but look at Di Beichan across from him. He was Bailey Hongzhuang's husband, so he should be more worried than anybody else. But Di Beichan was just lazily standing to the side, completely relaxed. It seemed as if he didn't care about it at all. Di Beichan's lips were curved into an handsome smile. These little schemes were simply nothing for Hongzhuang. From his understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang, she never feared anybody under the heavens. There was no way that she would act against her will just because many people were watching. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was like that, she should already have a plan. Ling Jiesin and the others watched Bailey Hongzhuang skeptically. Her actions today were really unusual. But after the three thought a bit, they ended up chalking it down as today's circumstances being different. Wei Meidai looked at Bailey Hongzhuang coldly. She never planned to say anything to Bailey Hongzhuang. After her master researches the channel opening pill, she'll definitely return to give Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. After the three handed Bailey Hongzhuang the points and demonic beast crystals, Bailey Hongzhuang gave them the channel opening pills. After this, the auction was officially over. Walking off of the stage, Ling Jiesin was filled with pride. Bailey Hongzhuang's usually always so arrogant, but today she was actually so terrified. She didn't even let me feel a bit of satisfaction. Haha, now that Yunyang's back, Bailey Hongzhuang's time of arrogance is already over. Lu Jingquan laughed. After Wei Meidai got the channel opening pill, she no longer stayed at Azure Water School and hurried to get the channel opening pill to her master so it could be studied thoroughly. After the three left, Xia Jiqing immediately asked, Hongzhuang, are you all right? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a smile. I'm fine, of course I'm all right. Then Xia Jiqing opened her mouth embarrassed, wanting to speak before ultimately closing it. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Jiqing, I want to trouble you with something. What? Xia Jiqing was immediately revitalized. She was just worried that Hongzhuang was in low spirits because of what had just happened. Bailey Hongzhuang once again took out 3 slips of paper from her sleeve. I want to trouble you to find these 3 people. If they want, sell the channel opening pills to them for the price that's on the paper. Xia Jiqing looked at the 3 slips of paper, astonished. She was confused, not knowing what Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to do. But she also didn't ask. As long as it could help Hongzhuang, it was good. No problem, leave it to me. Xia Jiqing confidently hit her own chest. I'm an expert at doing these kinds of things. Seeing Xia Jiqing prepare to leave, Bai Junyu beside her couldn't help but shout, Jiqing, I'll go with you. Xia Jiqing glanced at Bai Junyu. Your injury still isn't healed. It's better for you to stay and recover. It's nothing. I've already healed to the point where it's no longer a hindrance. Bai Junyu smiled as he followed her. Chapter 363 Special Enrollment Student Dormitory. Passing by Bailey Hongzhuang's room, Dongfang Yu and company were full of doubts in their hearts. However, seeing that Di Beichan and Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to long have something to say to each other, they left soon after. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked into her room. As she prepared to close the door, she saw Di Beichan standing there, his body against the frame of the door. exuding a lazy and devilish attitude. Standing there, you're in the way of me closing my door, Bailey Hongzhuang said languidly, eyebrows raised. Dibei-chan blinked innocently, looking lonely and sad. Wifey, my actions were so straightforward. Are you not going to invite me in for a bit? Looking at the expression on Dibei-chan's face, Bailey Hongzhuang also felt a bit of helplessness. This guy really played the shameless rascal to the point of sadness. If you want to come in, then come in. Hearing that, the sad and lonely look on Dibei-chan's face disappeared without a trace, replaced by a joy that was filled with a devilish air about it. On the surface, wifey is stubborn, but still loves hubby deep in her heart. Love your head. Bailey Hongzhuang returned coldly. With this guy, it was really give an inch and he'll take a foot. Dibei-chan pulled on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and with a single move, pulled her directly into his embrace. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang's back was against the wall. Dibei-chan placed his two hands against the wall on both sides of her body, his handsome face right up against hers. Wifey, if you say such things, hubby would really be heartbroken. His deep black eyes glittered with seductiveness, yet hid a trace of sadness. His words also held a trace of loneliness. Although she knew this guy was faking this sadness and loneliness, she really had to say that this guy's acting was very realistic. Hearing Dibei-chan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a bit of unbearableness in her heart. Looking at that extraordinary handsome face, even though she had seen it many times, she couldn't help but admit that it was damn good looking. No flaws in all 360 degrees. No matter what angle, it was impeccable. Even at this moment when it was so close, she couldn't even pick out the slightest flaw on his skin. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang looking blankly at his appearance, Dibei-chan's lips curved up into a devilishly seductive smile. Wifey, is hubby good looking? Bailey Hongzhuang felt stricken. The shame of the shame. She even let herself stare at his face, forgetting the current situation. She gave an angry glare at this guy. He was definitely wretched and vile. It's average, it can just barely pass, Bailey Hongzhuang said, words not matching her heart. Dibei-chan had a slightly unsatisfied look as he lifted his eyebrow. Just average. The handsome face moved even closer and in a blink of an eye, the distance between Dibei-chan and Bailey Hongzhuang was only a centimeter. As long as there was even a slight movement, their faces would touch each other's. In hubby's heart, wifey is the most beautiful woman in the world. Thin lips opened slightly as sincere words flowed out. Dibei-chan's breath fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. Very intimate. Bailey Hongzhuang stiffened. A faint blush of crimson flooded her face. This damn guy obviously knew her weak points. With a single push at Dibei-chan, she liberated herself from the intimate atmosphere. Bailey Hongzhuang took a breath of fresh air before her expression returned to normal. Dibei-chan turned his body, full of laughter as he looked at the sulking Bailey Hongzhuang sitting on her bed. His heart softened. His wifey is really cute. Did she know that just now he had to use all this strength just so that he could restrain himself from kissing her forehead? Chapter 364. You've been spouting flowery all day. Bailey Hongzhuang gave Dibei-chan a despising look. This guy was a sweet talker of the highest levels. Dibei-chan's face was in constant smiles. It was too embarrassing for his lady to speak about this. Speaking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's usual appearance was always calm and indifferent. Her current blushed, embarrassed appearance like a newly-wed daughter was truly too charming. Even if I really am sweet-talking, then it's only for wifey's ears alone. If it was another woman, then I definitely wouldn't speak a single sentence. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows. I'll assume you're talking nonsense. Husband is saying the truth. Dibei-chan stressed his words. Bailey Hongzhuang was about to mock Dibei-chan's words. She didn't believe that if she was replaced by a different woman, that Dibei-chan would be too lazy to speak a single sentence. But when she lifted her head, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately saw the earnestness in Dibei-chan's eyes. His deep and bewitching eyes were filled with sincerity and truth. The earnestness in Dibei-chan's eyes flashed away, instantly replaced by its previous teasing appearance. Bailey Hongzhuang was startled. That emotion disappeared too fast, so she didn't have enough time to see it clearly. Wifey, why did you sell the 3-channel opening pills to Ling Jiesin and the others? It isn't like your style at all. His thin cherry blossom lips stretched into a demonic smile as banter and confidence shone in his eyes. His wife would definitely get revenge. A sly smile was on her delicate, enchanting face as Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. How isn't it my style? In my opinion, the channel opening pills you gave them were fake, right? Bewitching's smile widened a little, his handsome face filled with confidence. They hadn't known each other so long for nothing. Something definitely had to be up. Bailey Hongzhuang was always one that couldn't bear having grit in one's eye, so with whatever important, she would consider all factors regardless of the law and of natural morality. There was no way that because of the audience's pressure, Bailey Hongzhuang would give the channel opening pills to the three so easily. If Bailey Hongzhuang was unwilling, why wouldn't she just not hold another auction again? A trace of astonishment appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Nobody there saw what she intended, but Bewitching did? How did you know? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. Bewitching smiled somewhat proudly. That's naturally based on my understanding of wife. Bailey Hongzhuang twitched her lips. It doesn't matter if Bewitching knew her plan, as long as those three idiots Ling Jiesin and the others didn't. If she didn't guess wrongly, after Ling Jiesin won the channel opening pill, she'd go around spreading rumors about its uselessness, and that it was a fake channel opening pill. With their IQ, they'd only be able to think of such a way to destroy her reputation. Since Ling Jiesin was going to tell everyone that it was fake, she might as well give her a fake one to begin with. Against their team about who everybody would believe, she also had many ways. As for Wei Meidai's participation in the auction, it was definitely overwatched by Gu Songyun. Research a way to study the channel opening pill? If the channel opening pill was really so easy to study, then pill recipes wouldn't be such a secret. Bewitching looked at Baisher. The king character on his forehead had disappeared, and he now seemed like an ordinary dumb pet contract beast. A trace of admiration shone in his deep pupils. Bailey Hongzhuang truly had many methods, always surprising people so. Chapter 365. Ling Jiesin and Lu Jingquan held the channel opening pills, their faces filled with excitement. The benefits the channel opening pill brings for cultivators were huge. Peng Yunxiang followed behind the two, a trace of helplessness and gloominess on his face. The three of them had clearly bidded the same price, but Bailey Hongzhuang picked only two of them, Ling Jiesin and Lu Jingquan's. This was the first time Dai Yunyang had entrusted something for him to handle, yet he had already failed. If this made Dai Yunyang unhappy with his capability, that would be a great loss. Miss Ling, what do we do about the pill that was bought by Wei Meidai? Lu Jingquan frowned slightly. Originally, according to their plan, all three channel opening pills should have been theirs. But nobody expected Wei Meidai to appear and change that. So, even if they accused Bailey Hongzhuang, wouldn't it all be worthless? Everybody already knew that the two of them held deep grudges with Bailey Hongzhuang, so if they said that it was fake and Wei Meidai said that it was real, it was obvious who everybody would believe. Ling Jiesin's face also became a little worried. They had finally found a way for Bailey Hongzhuang to cry every day in regret with great difficulty and call uselessly. So how could it all be ruined now? How about we go and sound out Wei Meidai? Ling Jiesin suggested. As long as we give her some benefits, Wei Meidai should agree to act with us. Lu Jingquan nodded, right? Let's go to probe Wei Meidai's intentions. Wei Meidai immediately went to leave with the channel opening pill. Many people coveted the pill in Azure Water City, so she had to give it to her master as soon as possible. But Wei Meidai suddenly stopped walking, blocked by somebody. Wei Meidai couldn't help but be a bit startled. She was about to use her identity as a pill master to intimidate them out of the way, but when she saw that it was Ling Jiesin and the others from earlier, a flash of doubt couldn't help but appear in her eyes. What are you guys doing? Ling Jiesin smiled brightly, walking a bit closer. Miss Wei, we came to ask for your help. Wei Meidai raised an eyebrow. With what? Would Miss Wei be potentially interested in selling the channel opening pill to us? Hearing her words, Wei Meidai glanced at Ling Jiesin and firmly shook her head. Out of question, this pill is too useful for me. If it's just this, there's no need to speak anymore. I won't be selling this pill to you. A trace of disappointment passed through Ling Jiesin's eyes, but Wei Meidai's reply didn't come as a surprise for her. With Wei Meidai's identity as a pill master, she had no shortage of money, so why would she possibly want to sell it to them? Wei Meidai was done speaking and prepared to leave, but when she saw Lu Jingquan and Pang Yunxiang still blocking her way, she frowned. I already spoke, what are you guys still trying to do? Ling Jessen thought for a bit. Since there was no hope in buying the channel opening pill from her, she could only do her best and try something. If she failed, she'd just die losing to Bailey Hongzhuang. Thinking up to here, Ling Jessen lowered her voice. What does Miss Wei think about Bailey Hongzhuang? Wei Meidai glanced at Ling Jessen doubtfully, not understanding why she was suddenly asking such a question. Don't tell her that. News about her and Bailey Honghoung at the Pill Masters Guild had already spread to here. On that day, many people were present on the scene, but there weren't any Azure Water School students, so it should have already transmitted outwards. Just say what you want to say, okay? Wei Meidai's voice was cold as she stared at Ling Jessen's group of 3. If they wanted to threaten her, she wasn't that simple. Chapter 366. There's some hatred between us and Bailey Hongzhuang, so we hope that Miss Wei might help us say a lie. Ling Jessen slowly told her thoughts to Wei Meidai. As she spoke, she carefully observed Wei Meidai's expressions. Although she knew that the chances of success were small, she still wanted to try her best. If she succeeded, then this time she'd be able to release all of her resentment. When Wei Meidai heard all of Ling Jessen's words, her heart was surprised for a long time before turning somewhat proud. As early as the channel opening pills auction, she knew that Ling Jessen and Bailey Hongzhuang were enemies, but she hadn't expected Ling Jessen to have been able to come up with such a way to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. But she liked it. Miss Wei, I know this is somewhat forceful, but I hope that you can help us. If you want compensation, say it. As long as we can get it, we'll definitely get it. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang's bullying to be so intolerable, we wouldn't go so far to do this. Ling Jessen put on a pitiful expression. She believed that most women wouldn't have a very favorable impression of such a beautiful woman like Bailey Hongzhuang. Wei Meidai's lips curved into a proud smile, a resentful light flashing through her eyes. That damned Bailey Hongzhuang, she hadn't even started to deal with her yet, and there was already someone else itching to get rid of her. If everybody heard about this, she'd like to see what face Bailey Hongzhuang would have then. That talented, genius pill master title would also be unable to be kept. I promise you. Wei Meidai smiled gently. Hearing Wei Meidai's words, Ling Jessen wouldn't help but be startled. I don't need any compensation. I've also long found Bailey Hongzhuang to be a thorn in my eye. I only need to do a slight effort, that's all. I'll help you. Wei Meidai spoke ruthlessly. Just make Bailey Hongzhuang suffer. Ling Jessen and the others' eyes lit up in excitement. They originally thought that convincing Wei Meidai was going to be very difficult and that even if they succeed, they'd have to pay a big price. So they hadn't thought that Wei Meidai would agree so easily, and even not demand any compensation. From Wei Meidai's words, Ling Jessen knew that Bailey Honghoung and Wei Meidai were foes with each other. So they were both facing the same enemy. So Miss Wei had previous conflicts with Bailey Honghoung. Ling Jessen smiled softly. That woman was truly a loathsome existence from birth. Don't worry, this time we'll definitely make Bailey Honghoung suffer a complete defeat. After Ling Jessen's words, the 4 including Wei Meidai shared a look. A knowing, delighted smile on everyone's faces. While Wei Meidai and Ling Jessen were talking about their plan, Xia Zhiman and Bai Junyu were helping Bailey Honghoung find the 3 people on her notes. They finally found them and brought them to the special enrollment student dormitory. Jiang Peng's face was filled doubt and confusion. He was Xiao Zifen's friend and had always yearned for the channel opening pill for a very long time. Before, he had wanted to rely on Xiao Zifen and Bailey Honghoung's friendly relationship to buy a channel opening pill from her. But then he heard news about Bailey Honghoung's auction for the channel opening pills. For the past 7 days, he had resorted to every possible way to get the demonic crystals and points. He thought that his amount was already enough, but he didn't expect for him to still fail. But just as he was feeling depressed, Xia Zhiman and Bai Junyu suddenly found him and brought him to meet Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 367. Hongzhuang. These are the 3 people whose names were on the slip of paper, Xia Jiqing smilingly said. Though she didn't know what Hongzhuang wanted to do, since it was a task Hongzhuang gave to her, she would definitely guarantee its completion. Thank you both. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes shone with thankfulness. It was because she didn't want to attract attention that she had Xia Jiqing help her search for these people. After all, the auction had ended not long ago, and she believed that there were still many people paying attention to her movements. So as to not give the game away, she could only request Xia Jiqing to look for people in her stead. Miss Bailey, may I inquire of the reason you've asked us to come here for? Although he was confused, Jiang Pengze's heart was filled with excitement. Whatever it is, Bailey Hongzhuang was publicly recognized as their school's goddess. Being so close to the goddess was already something worthy of envy. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, the corners of her mouth softening into an enchanting smile. I have 3 channel opening pills here. Would you 3 like to buy them with the same prices you mid-dead for earlier? Since Ling Jiesin wanted to use the channel opening pills to slander her, then she would do the same and use the channel opening pills to find witnesses to testify the authenticity for her. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Jiang Pengze and the rest were astonished. The pleasant surprise was too sudden, and they didn't know how to reply. Ah, Miss Bailey, is what you said true? Jiang Pengze spoke somewhat hurriedly, his eyes filled with anticipation and luster. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded softly. Of course it's true. We naturally want to, but Miss Bailey, why did you call us over to sell it? Couldn't you have just done it directly at the auction? Jiang Pengze asked the question in his heart. The other 2 both looked curiously at Bailey Hongzhuang. This really did seem to strange. Ah. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. I naturally understand your doubts. In fact, I also did this because I had no other option. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu's eyes were also filled with curiosity. So far, they still hadn't understood what Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to do. Lu Jingquan and Ling Jiesin both have some grudges against me. I believe you already know so, right? Bailey Hongzhuang shone, seeming gentle and soft as her entire body seemed to glow with moonlight. It gave others a very comfortable feeling. Everybody couldn't help but listen attentively to Bailey Hongzhuang. The goddess's words were naturally correct. We know. To be quite honest, there's also a conflict between me and Wei Mei Dai. Thus, the 3 all used fake names to successfully bid for the channel opening pill. Jiang Pengze felt a burst of astonishment. They really hadn't expected for them to all join hands to go against Bailey Hongzhuang. So then like this, today's auction was filled with conspiracies and plots. I think that it's very possible that after they bought the channel opening pills, that they'll start false rumors about how the channel opening pills were all fakes. So, I wanted to sell 3 more channel opening pills to you 3, intending for you guys to verify the authenticity of the pill so I can clear my name. Hearing this, everyone's eyes widened in shock. They had long guessed that Ling Jiesin and the others held bad intentions, but hadn't expected for them to have such a sinister plan. Ling Jiesin and the others are really too treacherous. Xia Jiqing spoke angrily. She was wondering why Hongzhuang was doing this, so it was actually to defend against such a plot. If Ling Jiesin and the rest didn't do it, then that's all. But if they really did do it, Hongzhuang wouldn't have any preparation, and when the moment came, there would be too many rumors to clear. Ah. Support me on Patreon for early chapter access. Chapter 368. Miss Bailey, don't worry. If they want to act like that, we'll definitely prove them wrong. Jiang Pengze's eyes shined with sincerity. Bailey Hongzhuang was his heart's goddess. As Xiao Zifan's friend, he naturally will stand on Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Right, don't worry Miss Bailey. Following Jiang Pengze's words, the other 2 also made their opinions clear. Then many thanks to you 3. Bailey Hongzhuang gave them a smile. I guarantee this channel opening pill's authenticity. If you guys don't believe it, there's no problem in taking it to a pill master for appraisal. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's calm and sincere attitude, the 3 completely relaxed their hearts. They were very clear that there was no need for Bailey Hongzhuang to give them a fake channel opening pill. With Bailey Hongzhuang's capabilities, even if she didn't have the channel opening pill recipe, her talent was already enough for everybody praise. Jiang Pengze and the others bought the channel opening pill and returned without the slightest hesitation. This was an extremely rare chance. After they went back, they had the ability to brag it. After Jiang Pengze and the others left, Xia Jiqing spoke. Hongzhuang, do you think Ling Jiesin and the others will really do such a thing? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled softly, a mocking light appearing in her ink-black eyes. They will definitely do so. She was almost completely certain Ling Jiesin and the rest held such an intention from the beginning. But since the pill she had given them really was fake, Ling Jessen and others would have to do so. Xiaozhiman didn't know the thousands of thoughts twisting around in Bailey Hongshuang's mind, and only felt her contempt for Ling Jessen to reach an extreme point. Such a shameless person was truly rarely seen. Bai Junyu's eyes were also filled with a disgusted light. As a cultivator with the ability to go face to face, using such despicable means were truly shameful. If Ling Jessen and the others really want to so, tomorrow will be a good show. Xia Jiqing's eyes twinkled with excitement. As she thought about that loathsome woman's face after seeing Bailey Honghaung's performance, she was filled with anticipation. Bailey Honghaung's smile widened somewhat, her eyes as bright as stars. We'll see very soon. Ling Jessen and the others had already happily returned back to their homes. They hadn't expected everything to go so smoothly today, so it really made them glad. Ling Jessen saw Dai Yunyang cultivating as soon as she opened the door. A happy and intimate light appearing on her charming face. Yunyang, we returned. Dai Yunyang exited cultivation and turned to look at the three people. Dai Yunyang wore a dark green robe, 3,000 strands on inky hair flowing from his head. His appearance was very handsome, but his eyes held a trace of darkness, giving him a treacherous feeling. If Bailey Honghaung was here, she would have discovered that Dai Yunyang and Dai Zhiman looked very similar, but were equally horrid. Chapter 369. A faint smile was on Dai Yunyang's face, but the depths of his eyes held no smile at all. You guys returned, what about that matter? A few problems happened midway, Ling Jessen said. Ling Jessen's voice grew smaller. Dai Yunyang frowned, his voice gloomy and cold. What problems? He had already thought over the plan for a long time and made sure everything would go smoothly, so what went wrong? We only got 2 of the 3 channel opening pills. The last one was bitted away by Wei Mei Dai. Ling Jessen spoke truthfully, intimately sitting next to Dai Yunyang. After not seeing him for so long, she had really missed him. Yesterday he had come back with great difficulty, but had only been discussing how to deal with Bailey Honghaung, and didn't get time to interact with each other. Dai Yunyang's face instantly darkened. How is it like this? When he had gotten his father's letter, he was furious. Dai Zhiman was his beloved sister and the two of them were very close, especially with both of them successfully enrolling into Azure Water School. There was no lack of people envious of them. He had always thought that in the future, the two of them, brother and sister, would be able to create their own sky. But that wretched trash actually dared to kill his sister? It cannot be forgiven. He absolutely refused to let Zhiman die in vain. Bailey Hongshuang must be buried with Zhiman. He didn't spare anything to get the 3 channel opening pills, yet Ling Jessen actually said they'd failed? Ling Jessen paid attention to Dai Yunyang's annoyed tone and didn't dare to hold anything back, immediately standing up to explain. But even though we don't have the 3rd channel opening pill, you don't have to worry. We talked to Wei Mei Dai about teaming up. Ling Jessen's face shined with excitement. Yunyang, did you know? That Wei Mei Dai also loathes Bailey Hongshuang very much and joined us immediately after hearing the plan. She just didn't sell the channel opening pill to us. Hearing that, Dai Yunyang's originally angry face dissipated somewhat, a trace of doubt still in his eyes as he asked, Are you certain? Ling Jessen nodded her head. I am 100% certain. By the side, Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang, who were watching immediately, also nodded their heads. Brother Yang, we had specially asked around for this reason. A couple of days ago, Bailey Hongshuang had a fight with Wei Mei Dai in the Pill Masters Guild. The two didn't just fight with words. Bailey Hongshuang even hit Wei Mei Dai, and Wei Mei Dai's master was also driven furious by Bailey Hongshuang. Her resentment probably isn't any lighter than ours. After learning about Wei Mei Dai's attitude, they had walked around asking for news just in case it was a trap. After hearing Lu Jingquan's confirmation, Dai Yunyang's face seemed to turn a lot better. This was a fabulous opportunity. If they failed, then it'd be very difficult to find trouble with Bailey Hongshuang again. If it was only Bailey Hongshuang, dealing with her wouldn't be an issue at all. But right now there was Bailey Hongshuang and Dongfang Yu Gong Shaoqing, and all those others with relationships to her. Wanting to handle her now would be very troublesome. After all, Gong Shaoqing, Dongfang Yu, they were all the best students in the special enrollment divinity, and their strength was no exaggeration. And the channel opening pill? Dai Yunyang asked. Ling Jessen and Lu Jingquan showed him their pills. Both channel-opening pills are here. Ling Jessen's eyes seemed to have a hint of drool in them. As a cultivator, she naturally knew how effective the channel-opening pill was. She hoped that she would also be able to get one. Chapter 371 Channel-opening pill was enough for one cultivator, so with two, maybe one of them would be hers. Ling Jessen looked expectantly at Dai Yunyang. With the channel-opening pill, she believed that her strength would once again be able to make a huge leap. You guys leave first, Dai Yunyang said slowly. Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang naturally wanted the channel-opening pill, but they were clear that it was impossible for one to be given to them. The two immediately nodded and left, but Ling Jessen stayed where she was. Ling Jessen leaned on Dai Yunyang, a happy smile on her dainty face. Yunyang, I haven't seen you for so long. I really missed you. Dai Yunyang glacéed at Ling Jessen, a trace of a smile on his face. Without me accompanying you, you were really lonely, huh? Ling Jessen nodded her head. Every day I was waiting for you to come back. When you weren't here, Bailey Hongzhuang was always bullying me. Now that you're back, I can finally take a breath. Hearing that, Dai Yunyang's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Not only did that damned Bailey Hongzhuang kill his beloved sister, she had even dared to bully Ling Jessen like this. She really didn't put him into her eyes. Don't worry, now that I'm back, it won't ever happen again. Ling Jessen's face was filled with smiles as she rested her head on Dai Yunyang's shoulder. Her voice was soft and coquettish as she spoke. Yunyang, the channel-opening pill. Can you give one of them to me? She originally didn't have many resources for cultivation, and after losing the bet with Bailey Hongzhuang, she had basically lost all of her belongings. There was simply no way for her to win the channel-opening pill. Plus, she knew that it was nearly impossible to want to buy the pill from Bailey Hongzhuang. Dai Yunyang's face changed somewhat, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Ling Jessen, a trace of ridicule and disgust in his eyes. But it passed in an instant, instantly hidden. Jessen, it's not that I don't want to give you the channel-opening pill, but the pill is more useful for something else. Dai Yunyang explained, a fake smile on his face. Ling Jessen was startled, her face turning a little dissatisfied. Then what are you going to do with the second pill? This time while going out for practical training, I met a person of very high rank and most of the riches on me are related to him. Now that I got the channel-opening pill, I naturally have to send it to him. You know that coming to this step wasn't easy. I need to seize every opportunity one get. Ling Jessen understood what he meant, but she still felt somewhat unhappy and refused to talk. Dai Yunyang wrapped his arm around Ling Jessen's slender waist. Originally I planned to get all 3 channel-opening pills so I could give one to you, but I truly didn't expect for such an accident to happen. Jessen, you won't blame me, right? Staring into the deep emotion and helplessness in Dai Yunyang's eyes, Ling Jessen's heart softened and became even more unswerving. Yunyang, of course I wouldn't blame you. I understand your suffering, as long as you love me, it's enough. Ling Jessen's face was filled with emotion, directly throwing herself into Dai Yunyang's arms. Dai Yunyang's lips curved into a sinister smile. This kind of woman was truly too easy to trick. Right now, trash like Ling Jessen was only good enough as a playmate when he was bored. How could she really be in his heart? But unfortunately, Ling Jessen and Dai Yunyang's warm arms couldn't see his face, still thinking about how much he loved her. Chapter 371 First/Second Grade. First/second rank. Since second grade sounds inferior to first grade, even though second grade is technically better. After Ling Jessen left, Dai Yunyang's gaze fell on the 2 small embroidered boxes. He hadn't expected for the long-lost channel-opening pill to one day fall into his hands. Although buying the 2 channel-opening pills used a lot of money, just by selling one of them to that man, he would be able to get double the amount back. After carefully placing the 2 boxes into his space pouch, Dai Yunyang left the dormitory. First he needed to give the pill to that rich man. Oh! Gu Kanjiam took the channel-opening pill from Wei Meidai, his aged face filled with excitement. Meidai, well done. Gu Songyun smiled and patted Wei Meidai's shoulder. As long as Master studies the channel-opening pill's recipe, our statuses will become entirely different. Every time a pill master recovered an extinct pill recipe, even if their abilities haven't changed, their positions would become as different as black and white. Wei Meidai smiled, Master. I believe that you'll definitely be able to research the pill recipe. A trace of pride appeared on Gu Songyun's face. Master will start studying it today. A rank 2 pill shouldn't be too complicated. You rest early, okay? Wei Meidai nodded and thought about whether or not she should tell her collaboration with Wei Meidai to her master. But since Master wanted to go into secluded study, it wasn't just a 1-day or 2-day thing. Once Master came out, Bailey Honghang would already be ruined, so there was no point in saying it. After Gu Songyun gestured for Wei Meidai to leave, he entered the pill concocting room. He wanted to study it as soon as possible. Wei Meidai didn't linger for long, quickly leaving. Once Wei Meidai was gone, Gu Songyun stared at the channel opening pill thinking. He thought that he should take half of it, and that researching it would be easier after experiencing its effects. For cultivators, even 1/2 of the channel opening pill was enough to be effective and helpful. Gu Songyun took 1/2 of the pill without the slightest hesitation. Meanwhile, Dai Yunyang was also taking the pill with a high-ranking personage. With Dai Yunyang's exaggerations, the noble personage paid a whole 10 times more than what he had bought it for. He had truly made a killing. Little Black and Little White happily enjoyed their feast. Their hands and mouths were covered in grease, the two faces intoxicated. Master, what kind of pills did you actually sell Ling Jiesin and the others? Little White opened his mouth, filled with pig trotters, to ask. Since it knew that Master had sold them a fake pill, it had always been curious about what kind of drug it was. But because of Di Bei-chan being in the way, he had never gotten the chance to ask. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a thoughtful smile as spoke laughingly, laxatives. Hearing this, Little Black and Little White widened their eyes. You can make laxatives look like medicinal pills? Laxatives were only ordinary medicaments, but what Bailey Honghang had sold earlier was clearly a medicinal pill. Bailey Hongzhuang blinked her eyes, the smile on her lips growing increasingly proud. I sold them laxatives with a little side effect. What side effect? Little Black and Little White both opened their mouths to ask. By the side, Baishir also opened his eyes wide, wanting to know as well. Actually, it's also nothing, just letting their strength drain out alongside their excrement. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly spread out her hands, her face seeming very innocent. Chapter 372. When Little Black, Little White, and Baishir all saw Bailey Hongzhuang's innocent face, a single thought immediately appeared in all of their minds. Black belly. Truly too black-bellied, two-faced. Perhaps only Bailey Hongzhuang could think up of such a scheme. Baishir trembled. It was okay to offend others, but never will he offend Master. Little Black and Little White's eyes were filled with pride. Master's things were truly unique. Whether it was the itching powder, Liyu's facial scarring, and now the laxatives, nudie apart from Master could do such a thing. Master, you made the laxative? Little Black asked. Master's things were truly strange and she seemed to have everything. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. For those kinds of loathsome people, don't you think such a way is a very new idea? Little Black, Little White, and Baishir all stared at Bailey Honghang before immediately nodding. New idea? It really was. Oh. After Dai Yunyang and the noble personage Feng Yutong took the channel opening pills, they happily started to cultivate and circulate their cultivation techniques. Channel opening pills would open up their meridians. Although the process would be somewhat painful, they didn't mind at all. So long as they could make a breakthrough in their strength, this little bit of pain was nothing. Feng Yutong's eyes were filled with excitement. This Dai Yunyang really wasn't bad, even able to get the channel opening pill for him. Although it was very expensive, he was not short of money. If he could get the channel opening pill, does it matter how much he spent? He had even already thought about it. If the channel opening pill really was helpful, he needed to find more ways to get channel opening pills from Bailey Hongzhuang. This sort of extinct pill didn't have a market price, so by reselling it, money would easily be surging in. But after he took the channel opening pill, Feng Yutag didn't feel the pill release any energy and couldn't help but be somewhat doubtful. Dai Yunyang, why don't I feel any response after taking the channel opening pill? Feng Yutong frowned distrustfully. Are you sure this is really the channel opening pill? Dai Yunyang's heart was also filled with confusion. He also hadn't felt anything after taking the channel opening pill. According to his previous experience with medicinal pills, After consuming it, the pill should disperse into a rich surge of energy. Plus, wasn't the channel opening pill still a rank 2 pill? But facing Feng Yutong's questioning, he only gave a confident answer. This is the channel opening pill, there's no mistake. Dai Yunyang's face had a confident smile. The channel opening pill is a primordial pill, so maybe it's special. Let's wait and see. Seeing Dai Yunyang's certainty, Feng Yutong also nodded. He had never taken a channel opening pill before and didn't know the effects of it, so maybe it was supposed to be like this. He believed that Dai Yunyang wouldn't dare to try and trick him with a fake channel opening pill. But even after the two men waited half a day, there was still not the slightest reaction. Dai Yunyang, I think that this channel opening pill is most likely a fake. Feng Yutong's face darkened. With his background, nobody had ever dared to trick him before. Seeing Feng Yutong's gloomy expression, a trace of nervousness appeared on Dai Yunyang's face. Sir Feng? I didn't cheat you. The first thing I did after getting the channel opening pill was going to you. Think, what benefit would I get from cheating you? Chapter 373. Seeing Dai Yunyang so nervous, Feng Yutong's face eased somewhat. However, the trace of suspicion never disappeared. Just because the channel opening pill was extinct, the channel opening pill sold for very high prices in the auction. He and Dai Yunyang had already knew each other for a while, so he had some understanding of the other's character. This guy was always very greedy. If you dared to lie to me, prepare to bear my rage. Feng Yutong narrowed his eyes, his voice cold and threatening. Dai Yunyang's heart shook. He had always just regarded Feng Yutong as a wastrel spending off his family's money. Even though he was very disdainful towards Feng Yutong, since he could fish up a lot of profits from him, he had always been careful not to offend him. Now looking at Feng Yutong's severe appearance, his heart beat like a drum, a trace of fear appearing inside. Sir Feng, I swear, I absolutely didn't lie to you. Dai Yunyang put his hand on his chest to pledge, his expression true and serious. Feng Yutong snorted coldly, you'd better not. Dai Yunyang had just breathed a sigh of relief when suddenly, his expression became extremely ugly. He placed both hands on his belly and felt it spasm violently, extremely uncomfortable. Sir Feng, my stomach helps, I want to go. Dai Yunyang's face was somewhat awkward, but before he could finish speaking, he couldn't bear it and ran directly to the latrine. Feng Yutong looked coldly in the direction Dai Yunyang left in, about to comment disdainfully when a noise suddenly came from his belly. Gurgle. Feng Yutong's face became ugly as a burst of pain came from his stomach, and he also immediately ran to the latrine. The pain was unbearable. But Dai Yunyang was already inside, so he could only unceasingly knock at the door. Dai Yunyang, you come out. I can't hold it. Sir Feng, I'm sorry, I'm not finished. Hurry up, hurry up. Feng Yutong constantly knocked the door, as if he couldn't stop. Oh. While Dai Yunyang and Feng Yutong were fighting for the latrine, Gu Songyun's circumstances was hardly any better. After he took the channel opening pill, he already felt as if something was wrong. As a pill master, he handled pills daily and naturally knew about their effects. Even if channel opening pills were extinct, they should have some sort of reaction, not like now when nothing's happening. But he still wasn't sure. He believed that the channel opening pill Wei Meidai returned with was definitely the one she bought from Bailey Hongzhuang, but he didn't know if Bailey Hongzhuang would be so brazen. Selling fake channel opening pills in front of everybody, wasn't she worried that she'd be exposed? Then after almost completely collapsing in the latrine, he confirmed that Bailey Hongzhuang really did dig a pit for him. That damn Bailey Hongzhuang. Gu Songyun gnashed his teeth, his eyes filled with hate. He actually underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. Gu Songyun's heart was filled with regret. He was too impatient, otherwise studying the channel opening pill's composition would be a breeze. In fact, even though Bailey Hongzhuang had calculated for Ling Jessen and such to take it, she hadn't expected Gu Songyun to as well. The only reason why she gave Wei Meidai a fake pill as well was just so she could make that old codger, Gu Songyun, mad. Just as Gu Songyun was thinking bitterly, his face once again changed as he ran back to the latrine. Kiki. Imagining the noble and elegant, beautiful Bailey Hongzhuang or Dibei Chan squatting in the latrine. Arofel, but don't worry. I'm pretty sure cultivators don't eat or poop, so Also, this sentence Bailey Hongzhuang had calculated for Ling Jiesin and such to take it was actually supposed to be BH had calculated for Dai Yunyang to take it. But I changed it because it was a plot hole. BH didn't know Dai was back yet since he hid his arrival. It was nightfall, the world shrouded by a blanket of darkness. It was quiet and serene. Dai Yunyang and Feng Yutong were collapsed on the couch. They didn't even have the strength to speak. Their faces were deathly pale without any color at all, their hair soaked with sweat. Dai Yunyang stared at the ceiling, finally understanding it was all because of that channel-opening pill. Bailey Hongzhuang hadn't given him a channel-opening pill, but a laxative. If it wasn't for that, he and Feng Yutong wouldn't be like this right now. Damn Bailey Hongzhuang. Dai Yunyang's face was livid, fuming with rage. He couldn't wait to tear Bailey Honghang to shreds. Dai Yunyang, what is this? Feng Yutong's mind was filled with fury. Never mind becoming stronger, he even felt a little weaker. But after this experience, he knew that it had nothing to do with Dai Yunyang. It was doubtful that he would make himself like this on purpose. Dai Yunyang's eyes were filled with resentment. His voice gloomy and cold. Bailey Hongzhuang must have given us a fake channel-opening pill. That Bailey Hongzhuang's really so daring? Feng Yutong felt a burst of astonishment. This was an extremely popular auction at Azure Water School, so selling a fake in front of so many people. Wasn't she afraid of getting her reputation ruined? Hearing Feng Yutong's words, Dai Yunyang's face suddenly turned even more unsightly. They had originally actually planned to destroy Bailey Honghang's reputation by saying the pill was a fake, but didn't expected that the one she gave them really was a fake channel-opening pill. Is it possible that Bailey Hongzhuang already knew about their plan? Thinking ate that possibility, Dai Yunyang couldn't help but tremble. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be that intelligent, right? But thinking it over again, Dai Yunyang refused to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually clever enough to see through their plan. The plan was something they had only worked out yesterday, so how could Bailey Honghang have possibly prepared against it? This was surely a mishap. The laxative's strength was truly too strong. After so many coming out, Dai Yunyang and Feng Yutong could no longer stand it, directly falling asleep. Fortunately, they had a cultivator's constitution, otherwise they might have not even been able to make it back to the couch. Oh, Gu Songyun was much older, and almost all his energy was focused on concocting pills, without any diligence towards cultivation. So even though he only took one half of the pill, his collapse was far worse than Dai Yunyang and Feng Yutong's. Lying on the bed, Gu Songyun felt like he had instantly aged 1,000 years, without any energy to move. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang got up brightly, freshening herself up before preparing to watch the big show today. Master, why isn't there still any movement? You Little Black looked at Bailey Hongzhuang doubtfully, his eyes filled with curiosity. It was eagerly anticipating today's big show. But it's been so long and nothing still happened. It couldn't help but mutter apprehensively. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a thoughtful smile. Wait for it. There shouldn't be news until the afternoon. She made the laxatives herself, so she naturally understood how strong they were. Since she was using it for cultivators, she specially made it ridiculously powerful. Thinking of that, when Dai Yunyang wakes up later and realizes his strength had faded, what would his face look like? In fact, everything was just as Bailey Hongzhuang expected. Dai Yunyang and Feng Yutong didn't wake up until noon. Gurgle. Dai Yunyang had only just gotten up when he heard a hungry sound come from his stomach. That damned Bailey Hongzhuang. Today I must ruin her. Dai Yunyang swore fiercely. Nobody in his many years of living had ever dared to play with him like this. Since Bailey Hongzhuang dared to do so, he needed to let Bailey Hongzhuang pay the price. Feng Yutong's face was pale as he stared at Dai Yunyang. Forget about revenge, what he wanted most right now was something to eat. But he always thought that something was wrong after waking up today. But even after thinking for a while, he still wasn't sure what it was. Dai Yunyang got up and started to cultivate. That was something he needed to do every day. After circulating one cycle of spiritual energy, your cultivation would improve. But as he started to cultivate today, Dai Yunyang's face suddenly changed. His heart felt a burst of panic as a thought he didn't dare to believe appeared in his head. because he clearly sensed that his strength was much weaker than before, and there was far less energy in his dantian. Impossible, this is impossible. Dai Yunyang shook his head again and again. How could his perfectly good cultivation suddenly drop so much? It must be that yesterday was so terrible that even now, his mind simply wasn't clear. Feng Yutong noticed Dai Yunyang's flustered state, and a trace of confusion couldn't help but appear in his eyes. Since he had met Dai Yunyang, he had never seen him show such a flustered appearance. Dai Yunyang, what happened? Feng Yutong frowned. Dai Yunyang was completely immersed in his thoughts, and didn't hear Feng Yutong's words. Impossible, how could my strength suddenly drop? After cultivating at Azure Water School for 3 years, his strength had already reached the initial stage of Mysterious Heaven. But now, he felt his strength was only at the middle stage of Mysterious Aeon. His strength suddenly dropped by an entire 2 grades. Wasn't that the same as meaning that 2 years of training were reduced to nothing? Impossible. Hearing Dai Yunyang's words, Feng Yutong's heart tightened. That wrong feeling he had felt earlier couldn't be this, right? Thinking up to there, Feng Yutong immediately went to look at his dantian. After seeing, Feng Yutong's face also turned into the color of a pig's. His strength had also dropped. Dai Yunyang, this is all your good work. Feng Yutong couldn't restrain his anger. Yesterday's situation already made him very angry, but he absolutely couldn't accept that his strength was now dropping. Sir Feng, what happened? Dai Yunyang was scared to death by Feng Yutong's loud curse, and immediately asked nervously. My strength dropped by a full 2 levels, and none of it can be returned. Feng Yutong was in a rage, his heart filled with endless regret. If he had known earlier, he definitely wouldn't have taken the channel opening pill. Even if he really wanted to take it, he still should have waited for Dai Yunyang to take it before he did. Dai Yunyang trembled. He originally didn't dare to believe it was true, but after hearing that Feng Yutong also dropped by 2 levels, he could no longer lie to himself. The medicinal pill, Dai Yunyang pondered. His eyes suddenly sharpened as he shouted, it must be due to that pill from yesterday. You aren't speaking nonsense, right? Feng Yutong slapped Dai Yunyang's head. He didn't need to think to know that it was due to the channel opening pill they took yesterday. Dai Yunyang's face turned somewhat ugly after being hit by Feng Yutong, but he couldn't do anything else. He knew that he had definitely been tricked by Bailey Honghao. Yesterday, that channel opening pill not only wasn't a real channel opening pill, but also wasn't a normal laxative either. Its true purpose was to weaken strength. Never in 1,000 years did he expect that it'd actually be like this. This time he had lost. A mad killing intent engulfed Dai Yunyang's heart. He had cultivated so much and with great difficulty had finally managed to break through, but now all because of Bailey Hongzhuang's pill, all that effort had been for naught. Originally his strength amongst the 3rd-year students could be considered to be one of the best, but with his current strength, his previous reputation would be completely obliterated. Not only this, but because his strength had dropped so much, he'd become the laughingstock of Azure Water School. From such a respected cultivator to this sort of status, he was simply unable to accept it. This was all because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Under his sleeves his hands clenched into fists. His fingernails pierced into his flesh, dripping with blood. His dark eyes were filled with killing intent and bitterness. After this, Dai Yunyang was already absolutely irreconcilable with Bailey Hongzhuang. No matter what, he must kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Feng Yutong looked at Dai Yunyang, eyes filled with anger and contempt. Originally he had seen Dai Yunyang as somewhat valuable, but after his strength dropped, he was worth nothing. Sensing Feng Yutong's dangerous gaze, Dai Yunyang's heart jumped as his scalp turned numb. He already couldn't accept his strength dropping, but the hardest thing to face was Feng Yutong. Right now, Feng Yutong probably wanted to kill him. He was very clear that Feng Yutong only saw him as valuable, so now that he had lost his worth, he was nothing. Thinking up to here, Dai Yunyang immediately spoke before Feng Yutong could say anything. Sir Feng, I absolutely won't let Bailey Honghao off. Feng Yutong just stared at Dai Yunyang coldly. His originally amiable attitude vanished completely. What do I have to do with you not letting Bailey Honghao off? Hearing that, cold sweat couldn't help but come out of Dai Yunyang's forehead. He could sense the chilliness coming from Feng Yutong's body. Our strength was weakened because of Bailey Hongshuang. Since Bailey Hongshuang made us lose our strength, then she might also have a way to get our strength back. That was also what Dai Yunyang was anticipating the most. He believed that Bailey Hongshuang definitely should have had a way. Or maybe the reduction in strength was only some trick or suppression, and could be restored. Feng Yutong glanced at Dai Yunyang deeply. I'll give you one more chance. If you fail again, you should understand the consequences. Dai Yunyang's heart trembled, repeatedly nodding his head. Sir Feng, don't worry. I'll finish this successfully no matter what. Then what are you still doing here? Feng Yutong said icily. Dai Yunyang was startled and immediately got up to leave. Staying here stupidly would only provoke Feng Yutong's anger. But just as Dai Yunyang was about to walk through the door, Feng Yutong suddenly shouted at him. Halt! Dai Yunyang turned confused. Sir Feng, what else? Return the money I paid you yesterday. Feng Yutong currently didn't have any good feelings towards Dai Yunyang. His words becoming more and more impolite. He had paid so much for the channel opening pill, but not only did his strength not increase at all, it had even dropped. This situation, and Dai Yunyang still wanted to take the payment? What a joke. Dai Yunyang smiled awkwardly, silently taking out the payment from yesterday and setting it down. This time he had truly having given away a bride, and losing his army on top of it one. He had originally planned to make a fortune while improving his meridians, and destroy Bailey Hongshuang's reputation at the same time. Before it was a wonderful opportunity to hit 3 birds with 1 stone, but now it ended up like this. After Gu Songyun came to, he found that his strength had also dropped and almost fainted from fright. He was respected for more than half his life, but hadn't expected for Bailey Honghang, that girl, to give him so much grief. Although pill masters placed the majority of their efforts on concocting, strength was equally important. If their strength and spirit force was strong, then their pill refinement strength will also be strong. Now that his strength suddenly fell, his perception would also worsen and pill refining would become a lot more difficult compared to before. Really didn't expect that girl to be so fierce. Gu Songyun was filled with anger. Bailey Honghang dared to do this to him, so he definitely won't let her have an easy time. Oh! Ling Jiesin and the others saw Dai Yunyang leave last evening but not come back, and couldn't help but be a little anxious. They had planned to start the plan today, but Dai Yunyang still hadn't come back, so naturally they couldn't move first. Yunyang still haven't come back? Ling Jiesin's face was filled with worry. She was itching to teach Bailey Honghang a lesson. Yesterday, Brother Yang had definitely taken the channel opening pill, so maybe he went into secluded cultivation and will return soon. Lu Jingquan thought aloud. Otherwise, we'll begin first? Ling Jiesin thought for a bit. Let's wait a bit more. While the two were talking, Dai Yunyang's figure appeared in front of them. Yunyang, you returned. Ling Jiesin happily got up to welcome him. How was the effects of the channel opening pill? Hearing Ling Jiesin's words, Dai Yunyang really wanted to hit something. Just seeing Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang standing on the side was enough for him to know not to reveal the truth. The only reason Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang followed him was all because of this strength. If news about his weakening got passed around, the situation will definitely be different. So Dai Yunyang didn't reply, and directly changed the subject. You now spread news about the channel opening pill being fake. After, we'll go find Bailey Hongshuang and give her some trouble. He needed to get this done as soon as possible while getting the antidote from Bailey Honghang's hands. Otherwise, he'll get into endless trouble. Hearing that the plan would begin, the three were filled with excitement. They weren't that curious about the channel opening pill's effects. While Bailey Honghang was cultivating, a knock suddenly sounded on the door. It opened to show a furious Xia Jiqing. Honghang, your guess really was correct. Ling Jiesin and the others really are spreading rumors that your pill was useless. Completely lying. Xia Jiqing was just angered to death. She didn't hear any news for the whole morning, so she thought that it was just Hongshuang overthinking. She finally started to relax for a bit, but who knew that the news would come in now? Plus those 3 people who are making the rumor worse than it already was, The rumor was spread throughout the whole school in a short period of time. Ever since the day that the auction was announced to the day that Ling Jiesen and a few others bought the channel-opening pill, everyone wanted to know what effects did the pill have. Since the market stall's owner left right after he received the channeling opening pill, no one knew what effects the pill had. Because of this, everyone was very interested in the effects of this channel-opening pill. When they heard malicious words slandering the channel-opening pill from Ling Jiesen and a few others, many of the students believed in their words. With a blink of an eye, this news has already been spread throughout the whole school. Seeing how worried and angry Xia Jiqing was, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but finding it funny. She has already told Jiqing about the things that might happen today, but Jiqing was still angry to this point. If she didn't tell Jiqing what would happen today, she wonders what emotions Jiqing would be going through then. When Little Black and Little White heard this, their eyes suddenly lit up. They were not worried about this matter happening. They just wanted to feel the excitement of chaos. They have been waiting for a whole morning now, and this good show was finally about to happen. Oh! The Baisher who was laying on the bed was also suddenly filled with spirit. Then he curiously looked towards Xia Jiqing. He actually also loves to watch exciting things happen. Jiqing, don't be angry. Didn't we already predict this? Said Bailey Hongzhuang calmly with a soft smile. Clearly, this news didn't surprise her at all. Seeing how calm and tranquil Bailey Hongzhuang was, Xia Jiqing couldn't help but let out a sigh. If this situation occurred to her, she would definitely run out there and look for the person who slandered her. How would she be able to be calm and tranquil like Bailey Hongzhuang? I really do admire your calm temperament. If this situation occurred to me, I would definitely not be able to endure it. After hearing what was said, Bailey Hongzhuang let out a laugh. I never said that I would endure this and do nothing. She has always followed her moral. If others didn't offend her, then she would offend others. If others offend her, then she will repay the favor hundreds of times more. Ling Jiesen and the others have already angered her by looking for her troubles time after another. Yesterday, she let Dai Yunyang lost a bit of his strength. Today, she let others see who would be the one to get their reputation ruined. After seeing the glint of coldness in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Xia Jiqing's expressions changed. She suddenly had a smile on her face. As it turns out, Hongzhuang has already made plans to teach the people who slandered her a lesson. Would you like for me to go contact Zhang Pengze? Asked Xia Jiqing. She believes that if there are two groups of people saying the same thing, then others will believe them. Bailey Hongzhuang softly waved her hands and said, "No need. Let them make this matter more publicly known. Then after that happens we will go together." Although she felt really anxious, after knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang had a plan, Xia Jiqing restrained the anxiousness in her heart. Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing were discussing about problems that everyone would encounter during cultivation. In these times, if they interact more with people who are cultivating, they would be able to cultivate easier. Just at this moment, Lu Qingyue came in with her face full of shock and worry as she said, "Brother Gong Dongfang, something happened." Hearing what Lu Qingyue said, Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu couldn't help but wrinkle their brows as traces of concern appeared in their eyes. What happened? Just now, when I was returning from the Pill Masters Guild, I heard Ling Jiesen and her group publicly declaring Hongzhuang's pills had no effects and that she cheated them of their money. The second Lu Qinyue's words were spoken, Gong Shaoqing and Dongfang Yu's expressions both turned unsightly. They're simply just making groundless remarks and distorting facts. Dongfang Yu rose, his attractive face full of anger. They had all consumed Bailey Hongzhuang's pills already and the effects were marvelous. Not only did their channels widen, but they also increased in firmness and toughness. The more energy one's meridians can accommodate, the faster one's energy can circulate during battle. Thus, the benefits of a channel-opening pill was quite obvious. They were deceived but are still trying to show off their cleverness. Gong Shaoqing's voice was icy cold and his eyes were as dark as black holes. Those troublesome people. This matter cannot be discredited as they please. It is extremely disadvantageous to Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation, so let's go look. Anxiety could be seen on Dongfang Yu's face. The longer they drag this out, the more groundless rumors will spread, and the power of such rumors was self-evident. How many people had fallen to rumors? This kind of information would spread rapidly from mouth to mouth until in the blink of an eye, the whole academy would know. Bailey Hongzhuang decided it was about time and left her dorm room. As soon as she stepped out, she saw Dong Fangyu, Gong Xiaoqing, and Lu Qingyue swiftly coming down from upstairs. Before she could speak, Dong Fangyu spoke in a voice filled with concern and tension. Bailey Hongzhuang, have you heard about Ling Jiesin and her rumors? Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face carried a polite smile. I've already heard. Those despicable people, they're actually blackening your name like that. How loathsome. When mentioning Ling Jiesin and her group, Dong Fangyu's face was filled with disgust. Ling Jiesin and Bailey Hongzhuang didn't have any enmity with each other. He couldn't understand why Ling Jiesin was so aggressively going against her. Don't worry, we will definitely stand on your side. Seeing Dong Fangyu's concern, the look in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes changed a bit. At that moment, Bai Junyu appeared and was also struck speechless by their conversation. He hadn't expected Ling Jinxia to be so shameless. Bailey Hongzhuang really was not wrong. Let's go and see it first, Gong Xiaoqing's deep voice said. Looks like we'll have to challenge them face on. One after another, the rest nodded. They need to go and feel out the situation themselves. Right as they were about to leave, the door next to Bailey Hongzhuang's room opened. Dibei Chen's lips held a mesmerizing and mischievous smile, his posture lazy and leisurely. Looks like trouble has arrived? At his words, everyone's expressions changed. Something they were all reluctant to do when coming from Dibei Chen's mouth. Why did it sound like they were going to watch a good show? However, what he said was something only Bailey Hongzhuang understood. They were the only ones who had a complete grasp on the situation, so naturally, he knew she had a solution. Dong Fangyu's handsome brows wrinkled. The eyes he looked at Dibei Chen with brimmed with queries and dissatisfaction. Bailey Hongzhuang is your wife. How can you be so indifferent to her problems? Don't you know how harmful this matter is to Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation? Dong Fangyu was no longer able to restrain himself. Bailey Hongzhuang was a unique kind of woman who was cherished greatly by those close to her. Although Dibei Chen was an outstanding person, Bailey Hongzhuang was unaffected by it. He really was pitiful for Bailey Hongzhuang. When Dong Fangyu's voice dropped, everybody present was astonished. Who would have thought that mild-mannered Dong Fangyu would attack somebody? Not only that, but the person he was attacking was Dibei Chen. Dibei Chen's jet-black pupils peered at Dong Fangyu from the corner of his eyes, and a hint of frostiness emanated from his bewitching face. Dibei Chen's words held a hint of danger. Dong Fangyu coveting Bailey Hongzhuang had already left him quite displeased. And now that same Dong Fangyu had the gall to rebuke him? Taking Bailey Hongzhuang into consideration, Dibei Chen did not want to destroy the friendship between them. However, this did not mean he would take Dong Fangyu's attack lying down. Dong Fangyu's anger increased at Dibei Chen's words. He didn't expect Dibei Chen would not only not reflect on his own negligence, but also speak to him like this. Dibei Chen's words had also hit Dong Fangyu's weak point. Who was he to be in a position to say such things? Xia Jiqing watched the scene before her. She didn't expect Dong Fangyu and Dibei Chen to be so riled up in a conflict, not giving each other an inch. Her eyes were wide open. Was this a dispute between a lover and husband? Lu Qinyue's expression was complex, and her beautiful eyes revealed astonishment. She had felt before that Dong Fangyu was too passionate, and his treatment of other women was different. When they were in the Falling Cloud Mountains, Dong Fangyu had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang had fallen into a state of fury. It was the very first time that she had seen Dong Fangyu looking that angry. After that incident, she felt that Dong Fangyu had treated Bailey Hongzhuang differently. When they returned to the school, Lu Qinyue found that Dong Fangyu acted strangely around Bailey Hongzhuang. Having known Dong Fangyu for some time now, she had a pretty decent understanding of his character. Dong Fangyu was generally polite to everybody. It was exactly this kind of temperament that made it hard to get close to him. This was because there was nobody he treated specially. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared in his life, she'd held a special place in Dong Fangyu's heart. Dong Fangyu had received a huge mental blow after finding out that Bailey Hongzhuang was married. Even if Dong Fangyu didn't say anything, a woman's intuition was rather sharp. Today, amidst all of Dong Fangyu's chaos, he was no longer able to hide his feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang. Little Black sighed. It could really be complex. The white lion raised its head slightly to look at the two above him, unable to comprehend the choice made by its master. What was Little Black trying to do by kicking up such a fuss? Seeing the situation escalate like this, Gong Xiaoqing couldn't help but say, Dongfang Yu isn't trying to be malicious, Dibei-chan. He's just worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. Don't take it to heart. Are you saying that I shouldn't care about my wife? Dibei-chan's shapely eyebrows furrowed into a frown, as his inked black pupils emitted a dangerous, penetrating aura. His concern for Bailey Hongzhuang didn't need to be stated, for they had long since reached a state of mutual understanding. Even if she didn't say anything about this troublesome matter, he'd know what she was thinking. Now that these two fellows had the gall to attack him like? Nowadays, he was no longer the wastrel of a prince who needed to be patient. With his status, who would dare utter even half a sentence of blame? Most importantly, these two fellows were caring for Bailey Hongzhuang too much. In short, Dibei-chan made use of the moment the atmosphere tensed up. Such provocative words made Dibei-chan rise up in anger. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't expect to discover the scene unfolding before her before she could even utter a single word. This was going way beyond her expectations. Dibei-chan's tone was frosty as his left hand wrapped around Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders, giving off an overbearing and aloof impression. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu gave each other a quick glance, both shocked by how overbearing Dibei-chan was. Dongfang Yu's temper rose when he saw Dibei-chan acting like this. He understood the hostility Dibei-chan had as a man. He really wasn't in any position to criticize Dibei-chan, but his actions had truly made Dongfang Yu angry. Bailey Hongzhuang looked towards, eyes slightly open. She had already told Dibei-chan that his conduct wasn't appropriate, but after seeing his eyes, she couldn't utter out a single word. His deep eyes were filled with sincerity and overbearing to the point where you couldn't refuse him. In the depths of the bottom of his eyes held traces of softness and fear. It was like if he denied his words he would be hurt. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help her heart from stirring after seeing those eyes of his. Besides, she was not the wife of Dibei-chan. Facing Dongfang Yu's criticism like this, it was only proper for him to retaliate. When she thought of this, she swallowed the words that she was about to say. She was quite clear about how much Dibei-chan cared about her. If he didn't care about her, he wouldn't have come back at this time to ensure her safety. If he didn't care about her, he wouldn't have been forced to leave Conglan Academy. From start to finish, Dibei-chan had only a single reason who coming to Conglan Academy, and that reason was her. After listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's explanations, everybody's expression shifted. They all thought that Dibei-chan would not understand the happenings of today. However, they never expected that Dibei-chan to have already predicted these events. In this case, wasn't it them who had wrongly accused Dibei-chan? Xia Jiqing's mouth was agape, her eyes full of understanding. As a matter of fact, she had also thought that Dibei-chan didn't give Bailey Hongzhuang enough love. As a husband, he needed to give Bailey Hongzhuang all the love he had. Unexpectedly, not only was Dibei-chan a caring husband, but he was also incredibly insightful. Her worries were unfounded. Dongfang Yu was stunned for a moment, his expression turned ugly. When he recalled that Dibei-chan said that he had an agreement with Bailey Hongzhuang, he was even more confident that Dibei-chan was declaring his own sovereignty. Gong Shanqing was also caught silent, his expression grim. Lu Qinyue's eyes flashed a glimmer of light. She didn't expect for a conflict to break out from this. No matter if it was Dibei-chan, Xia Jiqing, Bai Junyu, Dongfang Yu or Gong Xiaoqing, everybody cared specially for Bailey Hongzhuang. Disregarding Dibei-chan and Dongfang Yu, even Big Brother Gong had feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang from the perspective of others. Gong Xiaoqing didn't display enough concern. But with his cold temperament, just a mere sentence from him proved that the matter had a unique place in his heart. At this moment, Lu Qinyue couldn't help feeling pangs of jealousy. Before this, she was the goddess of the academy regardless of who appeared. She also had some attainments in alchemy as well. She used to be the moon among the stars, high up in the clouds. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang came around, she performed better than Lin Qinyue. In some cases, she even completely outshined her. Even if she originally didn't care about it as much, she and Bailey Hongzhuang were as different as black and white. She seemed to emit a brilliant radiance, attracting all the fireflies in the area. The instant Bailey Hongzhuang's words came out, a bright light flickered within Bewitching's eyes. The jet-black storm-cold eyes briefly shone a trace of joy. It was akin to sunlight breaking through the clouds, dazzling one's eyes. Bewitching embraced Bailey Hongzhuang's side even tighter as he felt incomparably happy in his heart. Bailey Hongzhuang confirmed their relationship in front of everybody. The most important part was how Bailey Hongzhuang made clear to Dong Fengyu that she preferred Bewitching. After knowing this, how could Bewitching not be happy? Looking at Bewitching's expression shifting from dark to light, Bailey Hongzhuang felt helpless, but at the same time found it funny. She had always felt that this guy was a cunning fox. She didn't expect him to have such a childish side to him. Gong Xiaoqing gave a slight nod and turned towards Dong Fengyu and Lu Qingyue's living quarters. Bailey Hongzhuang's foreman group also left to their quarters. They are going to handle this today. Early in the square, Ling Jessen and Lu Lingquan and some others stood at the square, recounting the tragic and heartbreaking tale. Their words were all accusing Bailey Hongzhuang, without even giving her the slightest bit of leeway. They were making Bailey Hongzhuang out to be a villainous scum. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came to the square, they heard the words of Ling Jessen. Xia Jiqing couldn't stop herself from letting a sneer. This Ling Jessen was still as shameless as ever. The way Ling Jessen was inverting black and white like this was unexpectedly not in the least out of character for him. Bailey Hongzhuang also let out a light chuckle, Ling Jessen pretending like this was truly pitiful. I didn't expect that the channel opening pill was actually a fake. Could it be that from the start, all the promotion and hype from Bailey Hongzhuang about the channel opening pill was a joke? Luckily, it wasn't us who bought the channel opening pill yesterday. Otherwise, we'd be in big trouble. Ling Jessen's words alone can't be trusted, After all, we didn't see it personally. I don't think Bailey Hongzhuang would do such a thing. When Ling Jessen saw that one of them didn't believe her, she couldn't help take an oath. The words I said are true. You guys say that we can't be trusted because of our conflict with Bailey Hongzhuang. But we believe that soon Wei Meidai will also come to seek justice. At that time you guys would believe it, right? Everybody looked at each other when they heard this. If Wei Meidai would also attest to it, then what they said was likely true. Seeing everyone's changing expression, Ling Jessen and Lu Jingquan glanced at each other, their eyes showing a proud smile. It seems that their goal has finally been achieved. Peng Yunxiang saw Ling Jessen's eye signal and immediately left. Wei Meidai had already prepared to cooperate with Ling Jessen and the others' plan, but Ling Jessen said that it'd be more effective if she was to appear later. So she had been waiting not too far away, awaiting for Ling Jessen and the others' signal to appear. When Peng Yunxiang appeared and informed her to go, a look of anger immediately appeared on Wei Meidai's face as she stormed into the school. After hearing Ling Jessen and the others' accusation, she pretended to have the same feeling as she shouted, "Your words are right. The channel opening pill Bailey Hongzhuang sold me didn't have any effect." Ling Jessen's face changed to one of elation. "Wei Meidai, it's good that you came. The channel opening pill was also useless for you, right?" Wei Meidai nodded, her face indignant. "Right? I paid so much to get the channel opening pill, but I never thought that it won't have the slightest effect. Bailey Hongzhuang is really going too far." Everybody was in an uproar. Wei Meidai was a pill master, If even Wei Meidai said so, the channel opening pill probably was fake. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to actually be a swindler. This trick was really too fierce. I say that this Bailey Hongzhuang isn't even a pill master, so there's no way that her pill is real. How can the school have such a troublemaker? It's no wonder that she chose to auction out the pill to us. If it was outside, she'd be done for. While everybody was discussing, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly appeared to face everyone. Seeing the topic of conversation come out, everyone's eyes lit up. It seemed like there would be a good show today. Ling Jessen saw Bailey Hongzhuang, and a trace of pride appeared in her eyes. A fake expression of grievance appeared on her charming face. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you're really too much. Even though there's some conflicts between us, you didn't need to sell a fake channel opening pill to me, right?" Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a mocking smile. She crossed her arms, staring at Ling Jessen with a smile yet not a smile. "Act? You continue to act. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang sneer at her, Ling Jessen's face turned unsightly. Why is it that even now, Bailey Hongzhuang still seems so calm and indifferent, as if victory was in her grasp? Obviously right now, Bailey Hongzhuang should be at an overwhelming disadvantage. One mistake and her reputation would be completely destroyed. Yet how could she still be so carefree and mock her? This was Dai Yunyang's first time seeing Bailey Hongzhuang. When he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's stunning beauty, a trace of shock and want appeared in his eyes. Before this, he hadn't known that Bailey Hongzhuang was so beautiful, and even thought that the number one beauty Lu Qingyue wasn't at all inferior. On the contrary, her confident gaze could be described as peerlessly beautiful, even faintly more than Lu Qingyue. Lu Jingquan fell into somewhat of a daze as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang's perfectly composed appearance. Once he came to, his face also turned very unsightly. One Bailey Hongzhuang, speak clearly. What acting? Ling Jessen shouted loudly. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to stare at her with a strange smile, her eyes filled with contempt and disgust. What acting? Shouldn't you know? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Ling Jessen's face changed somewhat. I don't know what you're saying. Anyways, the channel opening pill you gave had no effect. Return my bid and take your punishment. Ling Jessen, you're framing people randomly. Why did you say Hongzhuang's pill is fake? Xia Jiqing suddenly got angry. After seeing Ling Jessen's unbridled appearance, she could no longer restrain herself and directly confronted her. She wasn't afraid to see who was stronger. Xia Jiqing, I'm talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. Why are you interrupting for no reason? Ling Jessen frowned. She knew Xia Jiqing had a sharp mouth, so it'd be hard to win if they got into a fight. I just can't bear to see you distorting the truth like this. What's wrong with that? Xia Jiqing's words didn't give Ling Jessen the slightest bit of face. Aren't you just relying on your relationship with Dai Yunyang to act so arrogantly in the school? You look, what are you alone? Xia Jiqing. Ling Jessen's face turned ashen. Don't go too far. There was a big crowd of students gathered around them. Although many knew about hers and Dai Yunyang's relationship, Xia Jiqing's words were like a cover-up completely peeled away. Dong Fengyu and Gong Shaoqing glanced at each other. This Xia girl's mouth was really fierce. Bai Junyu's eyes shined brightly. It was the first time he had seen Xia Jiqing be so wild. I went too far? Xia Jiqing smiled coldly. Did I go further than you? Hongzhuang sold the channel opening pill and as revenge, you go and destroy her reputation. Truly a poisonous woman. Ling Jessen couldn't restrain her anger as her chest heaved. But she didn't know how to reply to Xia Jiqing, and could only turn to look at Peng Yunxiang and Lu Jingquan beside her. Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang were also very helpless. Wasn't having the two of them argue with Xia Jiqing just a straight road to losing? Bailey Hongzhuang, we're asking you about your channel opening pill. If you have the ability, don't make Xia Jiqing interfere. After thinking for a long time, Ling Jessen could only say that. If Xia Jiqing continued to talk, she'd be infuriated to death. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a graceful smile, but the words that came from her lips were ruthless. What are you? I want to hear your answer. She believed that for some people there was no need to give any face. Before she had still given her some face, but now she had no plans to continue doing so. Everybody was commotion when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Nobody expected her to be so domineering. Ling Jessen was frightened by Bailey Hongzhuang's demeanor. Normally, even if Bailey Hongzhuang got into arguments, she had never seen her act like this. Why was everything completely overstepping her expectations? According to reason, shouldn't Bailey Hongzhuang be very scared and nervous, cowering in fear? Lu Jingquan and Peng Yunxiang were also somewhat baffled. They also had their hands tied with Bailey Hongzhuang's strange attitude. Bailey Hongzhuang, the channel opening pill you sold us was fake. Could it be that you don't even plan to compensate us for that? Lu Jingquan said icily. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a sneer as she raised a brow. Why do you say my channel opening pills are fake? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her voice, making sure everyone watching could hear her words. As everyone knows, there's some hate between you and us. So how is it trustworthy if you say that my channel opening pills are fake? You don't have any evidence that my channel opening pill is fake. You guys call my pill a fake. Well, then I say that mine are real channel opening pills. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were clear, leaving Ling Jessen and the others no room to retort. Then what about Wei Mei Dai? Ling Jessen shot back. She also said that your channel opening pills were useless. Haha. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed. You guys are all simply jackals of the same tribe. Wei Mei Dai and I also have some resentment, so since you guys made a plan, she naturally wanted to join in and smear my reputation. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, all the students' faces suddenly turned startled. They knew there was animosity between Bailey Hongzhuang and Ling Jessen, but never knew there was some between her and Wei Mei Dai as well. So that means that Ling Jessen and the others had probably planned. Ling Jessen and the others were all targeting Bailey Hongzhuang, designing a trap. How about it? Didn't I say that there's no way my goddess would do such a thing? This was definitely Ling Jessen and the others framing Bailey Hongzhuang. A man got up and laughed brightly. Before he couldn't retort under everyone's accusations, but now he could finally raise his eyebrows and blow off steam. Right, Bailey Hongzhuang simply has no need to do that. Even though cultivating resources were quite rare, special enrollment students shouldn't lack it to this extent, right? Ling Jessen and the others were always bad from the start, wanting the channel opening pill but not wanting to pay for the bid. Therefore they made such a despicable plan. After Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, the originally one-sided rumors immediately changed. There was originally many people believing in Bailey Hongzhuang, so after seeing her confidence, their opponents also got stronger. Xia Jiqing listened to everyone talk, and a trace of admiration couldn't help but appear in her eyes. Although it hadn't been very long since Bailey Hongzhuang came to Azure Water School, her popularity wasn't small at all. Just now, she had only used a few words to stabilize an extremely thorny problem, and everyone instead started to doubt Ling Jessen. Her abilities were really too great. Only Little Black, Little White, and Baisher felt themselves flush with shame. In fact, what Ling Jessen and the rest said were actually correct. The channel opening pill Master had sold really was fake, yet Master speaks of justice and righteousness, saying such lies without a single change in face or skipping of the heart. Master really was amazing. Of course, none of them dared to actually speak it aloud. Otherwise, there's no way that they would get the yummy foods they wanted. Wei Mei Dai walked forward, her face cold. You gave us a fake channel opening pill, so how are we slandering you? Bailey Hongzhuang, I am in no lack of money. I have simply no need to use such a method to frame you. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Wei Mei Dai coldly. Since she had met Wei Mei Dai, she had known that she wouldn't be easy to deal with. You bid it for the channel opening pill yourselves? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the people watching them and raised her voice. From the beginning when I conducted the auction, I had never wanted to sell you guys the channel opening pill. But you guys were the ones who specifically used fake names to bid for the pill. If you guys didn't collude before the auction and move together, ask the other students in the school if they would believe you then? At this moment, Dai Yunyang felt stupid. From the start, the pill Bailey Hongzhuang auction really was a fake. Unfortunately, after Bailey Hongzhuang's words, it made it seem as if they were framing her. If it wasn't for himself personally knowing the truth, he definitely would have believed Bailey Hongzhuang. Just as expected, many more students began to stand on Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Because Ling Jessen and the others' actions that day were a bit eye-catching, they recalled the scene. They must have been plotting for this day. Wei Mei Dai now was also feeling a bit worried. She hadn't expected Bailey Hongzhuang to be so difficult. The rumors they took so long to plant were easily destroyed by a few light words from Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. Bailey Hongzhuang, who wouldn't want the channel opening pill, which is so helpful for cultivators? Wei Mei Dai spoke unhappily. Because there's some animosity between us, I was worried you wouldn't sell the channel opening pill to us and then decided to use a fake name. I think Ling Jessen and Lu Jingquan did so for the same reason, but what we said was a fact. Your pill was fake. Seeing how Wei Mei Dai managed to fit one thing in another, Ling Jessen and the others breathed a sigh of relief. She had no idea how to answer that earlier. Since you said so much, let me ask you a few questions. Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was calm. Just this, and Wei Mei Dai wanted to fight with her? What a joke. She'll let Wei Mei Dai taste the flavor of defeat. They wanted to destroy her reputation, so she'll destroy theirs instead. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, a bad premonition couldn't help but arise in Wei Meidai's heart. This Bailey Hongzhuang was never a person whose moves could be expected. You're a pill master, right? Bailey Hongzhuang asked mildly. Right? You said my channel opening pill was fake, so naturally you must have already taken it. Since you're a pill master, you should be very sensitive to the pill's ingredients. So let me ask you, what are the ingredients of my channel opening pill? Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her arms and stared at Wei Meidai, her indifference making it seem as if she already held victory in the palm of her hand. After the originally worrying Dongfang Yu and others saw Bailey Hongzhuang's calm face, they felt their previous worry to be superfluous. Bailey Hongzhuang's acolytes were more than enough to solve this problem. Ling Jiesin and the rest simply weren't Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. Ling Jiesin and the others looked expectantly at Wei Meidai. They believed that Wei Meidai would definitely be able to answer the question. But Wei Meidai actually didn't speak. In fact, she never even took the pill. Wei Meidai didn't dare to talk nonsense, afraid that she'd make a mistake and Bailey Hongzhuang would catch it. With Wei Meidai's silence, some of the sharper people already realized the truth. If Wei Meidai was really correct, then how come she couldn't say a thing now? Ling Jiesin and the others were also struck dumb. What was this? Why wasn't Wei Meidai saying anything? After Zhang Pengze and the rest heard the news and rushed over, his eyes filled with shock as they watched the scene. They'd come as soon as they heard the news, worried Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't have their support. Now it seems that even if they hadn't come to testify, everybody would still believe Bailey Hongzhuang. Her skills truly made others gasp in surprise. Bei Chen's eyes also glowed brightly with admiration. His wife truly couldn't be underestimated. Everything seemed to be initiated by Ling Jiesin when in fact, Bailey Hongzhuang had controlled everything from the start. Whether it was her plan, her reactions, or her retorts, everything was controlled by Bailey Hongzhuang. Just going by this, Bailey Hongzhuang was extraordinary. Just as Wei Meidai was at a loss for what to say, a hoarse and gloomy voice filled with restrained anger suddenly interrupted their exchange. Heavenly star grass, rootless wood, willow channel flower. Those were actually the channel opening pill's ingredients. Everybody turned to face the source of the voice. Gu Songyun's face was dark as he made his way to the morning assembly plaza. Even though he had concealed it very well, his face was still a bit pale. Seeing Gu Songyun's appearance, Wei Meidai's face filled with happiness. Although she didn't know why Master had suddenly came, coming now was the same as saving her. God, it's actually Master Songyun. He actually came to Azure Water School personally. I don't know why he came here, but he seems a bit ill. Could it be that Master Songyun came to help Wei Meidai get Bailey Hongzhuang? Facing such an unexpected event, everybody had different opinions. Just as everything seemed about finished, a new variable had suddenly shown up. Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't unfamiliar at all with the ingredients Gu Songyun had mentioned. They were precisely the base ingredients for the laxative, although there were still a few other ingredients that Gu Songyun hadn't said. That means that Gu Songyun still hadn't researched it successfully. After all, the pill she had refined naturally couldn't be easily imitated. But after seeing Gu Songyun's face, a trace of doubt also appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes. She had already guessed that Gu Songyun found that it wasn't the channel opening pill, but a laxative, which was why the old codger was so angry. But Gu Songyun's pale appearance and slight limp as he moved clearly showed the effects of the laxative. Could it be that Gu Songyun also took the laxative? It should be You just as Bailey Hongzhuang was puzzled, Little Black's excited voice suddenly sounded. Master, you were correct, this Gu Songyun's strength actually dropped by 2 whole levels. It seems like this guy's really angry. Little Black smiled rottenly. His strength originally wasn't high, so losing 2 grades at his age is enough to let him feel bad for a long time. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a ridiculing smile. Although she wasn't sure why this guy took the laxative, but since he ate it, she was naturally happy. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.